live now. Let me double check where we are at here. I didn't even pull up a chat. You know, I didn't even share. I didn't share it either. But that's fine. For those who are watching from the beginning, welcome everyone. This is On Just Restart. We do a weekly Nintendo podcast, usually Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, give or take a couple of minutes. But yeah, that's what we do. We talk about Nintendo every week. I am joined by Brandon from What About Nintendo. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Ready to be on the podcast again. Had to miss last week, but I'm ready to be back.
Cool. Very cool. So, as I was trying to explain to Brandon, I'm trying out a little new feature with my recording here, or my microphone setting. So if for whatever reason during the podcast, guys, for those who are watching live, please let me know if my audio is clipping out. I'm just trying to eliminate background noise because my dog barked and things like that. So just, you know, it's a measure to improve the quality of the podcast, but because I didn't do too much testing on it, it may result in my own voice being cut out. So if that happens, let me know in the chat, guys. But I think it should be fine. I did a quick test right before. Everything seemed fine. So as long as I'm actually speaking, which is the intent when I'm speaking, it should be heard. So
yeah, I'm sure if I can hear you, they should be able to hear you. So
I don't know, because the thing is, I put the setting on OBS, right? So
it's
yeah,
on OBS. Okay,
yeah, it's on OBS, right. So only those who are on the stream watching it should be able to actually see or tell. Now, I didn't actually share this out, which is something I should have done. Bad.
Oh, sure.
Very bad. I'd appreciate it. But just to kind of go over what we're talking about today while I multitask here, we're going to be talking about Pokemon, or going over some of the latest Pokemon news, but then we're also going to be going over, whatchamacallit, the Little Town Hero. We're going to be talking about Little Town Hero, and we neither Brandon nor I did actually have played the game yet, but there's been a lot of footage that have come out for it. Like, I watched like an hour of gameplay from Game Explained, so we're gonna be talking about like the beginning area, our thoughts on it, how we feel about the game. But later on in this discussion, we're gonna be talking about Luigi's Mansion 3. This is the thing, Brandon, that I brought up to you, but I didn't tell you exactly what I thought we would talk about. I figured we just kind of question if Luigi's Mansion 3 is spooky enough for the series, right? We haven't played the game
that makes
yet.
Sense.
Yeah, so we can talk about that. I feel like that's a pretty good talking point. Then later on, we'll be talking about some more Smash leaks, but also how it's tied into Fortnite. Yes, I know, it's terrifying. Even scarier than anything Luigi's Mansion 3 could offer. And then we'll be going into some next-gen talk, because we got some next-gen news last week with PlayStation 5 getting some major announcements. So we're going to be talking about all that today. It's a fair bit to talk about. But that's pretty much it. But while I go ahead and like share some links out, Brandon, why don't you go ahead and just talk about yourself? None of us are on camera right now because I'm doing stuff on Discord, but yeah.
Yeah.
They should be. They can still hear us though.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of work on pretty much one video. I've been trying to get this video out on my channel. It's a spooky video. It's coming out tomorrow, guys. And I've been working on it for like a week. So I've just been, if you guys know my channel, I put up an update video where I wanted to be more creative. So this script, I went and I was like, okay, how can I make this script be funny and entertaining? And it's just a different type of video than my normal, more like theory videos. Like, this one was meant to be specifically very entertaining. So that's not a video type of content I typically do. So it was very interesting for me to work on that. And so that took me like all week. Just coming up with different ideas, changing it constantly, and it's about to be ready. So I actually got it all edited up. I got it done so late in the day, I thought I might as well put it up at a reasonable time tomorrow instead of shipping it out super late tonight.
What time do you think we'll see it tomorrow?
It should be noon to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I have some things I have to do in the morning, but after that I'll just go and pretty much just upload it straight to YouTube. It's pretty much done by now, so.
Cool. Alright, I am about to put out this tweet. I'm looking forward to your video tomorrow. Guys who haven't seen Brandon before, the link to his channel is in the description below, so make sure to subscribe for him and stay tuned. But I've now shared this out appropriately, as I should have done before we started. But we can now get back to, you know, actually focusing on the discussion here. let me fix up Discord. Okay. Okay. Alright, come on. We can do this. It's happening. I'm fixing this. We're back on track now.
Oh, there we are.
Yep. It's happening.
Yay!
Alright, making sure the chat is open and available, ready to go. So, I mean, we'll just let people roll in for another minute or two, and then we'll actually jump into the topics. Just a couple things. Obviously, just a reminder, merch site is available. Check it out, description below. Besides that, I started Skyrim, and I beat Link's Awakening this week. That's kind of what I've been doing. So I beat Link's Awakening. I'm not sure if I beat it before the podcast last. I might have. You know what I did? I beat it last weekend, actually, to be more precise. So I might have mentioned it last podcast, but I beat it. It was cool. Like, I guess I didn't talk about it with you though, right? So, what are your thoughts on Link's Awakening? Like, I enjoyed it, but it's also like when we did our Zelda rankings. Yeah, I feel good about putting it like middle of the road.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe even I could put it maybe 1 or 2 lower. Like, I could see if I were to replay Minish Cap, and if I were to give Oracle of Ages and Seasons a try, which I haven't, I could see myself putting those above it, but I have to go back and play them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have beaten Minish Cap, so I think in our thing we did 2 weeks ago, I put Minish Cap above it, so I'm sticking with that.
I definitely feel good about putting A Link Between Worlds as like the highest 2D Zelda, mainly just because I feel like it just has a lot more going on in it, and like the puzzles are really
Link's Awakening is really simple. I think even though it has been remade and there's some nice quality of life changes, it still feels like a Game Boy era game, if you know what I mean. Like the world design, the enemy design, just how simple enemies are in general. They typically have like one attack pattern. They're really easy to follow. They all have, well, almost all of them have basically the same health and damage output. It's all very basic stuff. And most of the dungeons, I'd say, well, the first half of the 8 dungeons, the first 4 are very, very simple, and then they start getting better as you go on. And by the end, they're pretty good. But that's the end. That's like, you're like, it's really getting there, and then it's over.
One thing I'll say, because I played the game
it's just not amazing.
I played the game in hero mode, and I found it to be very challenging. Like, that challenge was there. So I had no problems with that, but yeah, the puzzles were very
not like... I more care about the puzzles themselves than the actual difficulties, what I'm looking for.
Right. I mean, there were some puzzles that were hard, but you can definitely tell that over, as time has passed, puzzles have become a lot more interesting for Zelda games, right? It was one of the earlier Zelda games, so the puzzles they're okay, just, they've just gotten so much more unique. Like, it's a lot of kind of like basic puzzles in Link's Awakening. There are some weird ones, but like it comes down to just flipping switches and moving blocks and stuff for a lot of them. One of the later dungeons was kind of cool, where you had to carry around like a giant metal ball boulder, and you had to break down the tower. That one was cool because that really did it forced me to think a little bit outside the box, which I appreciated. I would even say that puzzle was kind of hard, but maybe I just sucked at navigating that dungeon.
That's the same one where you had to do all the on and off switches, so the different blocks would raise and lower?
Yes.
Yes, that's the bird one.
It was really annoying because you would go somewhere and be like, oh crap. I can't go here.
That was my favorite dungeon, actually.
Yeah.
That's the one I showed in my review video of that.
I think the thing for me is that because I was playing in hero mode, I would die a lot, right? In the dungeons. So like when I'm on the verge of like figuring something out, I die. So I have to go all the way through again, which is that made it a little frustrating, but not enough to like, it made it just hard for me. That's all it was.
It's so strange that the hard mode's that much harder because the normal is super easy.
Maybe I just suck.
The normal mode is so easy.
You haven't played the hero mode yet, right?
Right. I haven't played it. I'm gonna.
You're basing this off what I've told you. I could just be really bad.
You could, but I'm just like, how much harder does this have to be? I did one time, and it's because I thought, like most other Zelda games, that fairies were automatic upon death.
No, yeah.
They're not. You have to use them beforehand.
I think I've died 135 times in the game.
Holy sh!
Yeah. Yeah. Careful, Brandon. We might get demonetized.
Oh no.
Yeah. Did you see it? It came up like a couple weeks ago. Like, I think YouTube's like asking people like, okay, how much cursing are in your videos? And depending on how much cursing, we will demonetize you.
Yeah,
or limit your monetization.
Fill out a forum now.
My fear is that like if I even say, oh, just a little bit, will that impact my monetization slightly? Like they won't say it, right?
But there is what exactly it does. So they'll all complete monetization, and then they'll tell you like some ads.
But here's the thing. Okay. Being fully monetized still has quite a bit of variety as to what ads you actually get, right? It's because really weird. Like I've had ads where, you know, like if I have to say I get 1,000 views, I'll make, you know, $4 to $5 per 1,000 views, right? And then I'll have ads where if I hit 1,000 views, my pace is $1 per 1,000 views, right? And if I had videos that do really well, they get really good ads that do even better than that. That happens sometimes. Now, granted, I'm a smaller YouTuber, right? So if I was a lot bigger, you know, that ratio would be better, one would hope, unless I curse all the time. Then maybe not. Right? So my point is that, like, there are, even when you're in that fully monetized status, the value of the ad differs greatly for different reasons. And I guess my fear is that maybe, you know, the best advertisers, the ones that are willing to pay the most, right, don't necessarily will go to the ones who curse a little bit, because they do want you to specify between cursing not at all versus a little bit. Why even have that specification if there's not going to be a difference? So that's really concerning to me, right?
I usually just click the yes, everything's fine.
Right.
Anyways.
Just don't reveal
but I don't curse
any
in my videos. So.
Don't reveal Zelda, because boom, we'll just throw bombs everywhere. Right. So yeah, we gotta, you know, just be careful.
Yeah, I have yet to be demonetized though.
No, I don't get that. I don't have that problem.
It doesn't. Yeah. It never turns yellow. It never gets. They don't do anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm small and they're just not looking for it.
Maybe. How about when you do your reaction clips?
No, I've not gotten anything demonetized for anything other than copyright.
But are the ads good?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it's hard. It's kind of hard to gauge for sure, but also it could just be because we're small. That's another point, for sure. But enough of the YouTube talk, because I know not everyone is here for that. Some of you might find that interesting. Right. Not everyone does, so maybe we can do like
other YouTubers, I'm sure.
Right, but I mean, a lot of people who watch YouTube at least do a little YouTube, you know. So people get it. People understand.
Yeah. They see how it is.
But yeah, I see some people are in the chat already. Shadow of Nexus, hello. Astral is off the chain. Cheers. Stab64, what's up, man? So Shadow of Nexus is saying that there's actually a list of 987 words that will demonetize you, and apparently
I've heard about that.
Even Shrek is on that list, right?
Yeah.
Like,
there's all kinds of weird ones that have to do with like random political news or like things that happen in certain states. You can't even say the state's name.
Things that don't. Yeah, I heard. I did hear about this. I didn't actually like look into it. Mainly because Brandon, like you mentioned for your videos, I try to keep things fairly professional in my videos. When it's live, it's a little different. It's a bit more free, but obviously we still have it reined back a little bit because we understand that, you know, we have a varying audience, right? So
I try not to curse too much in the podcast.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say this is a hoodie, not a hinter, right? So gotta be careful.
That's so ridiculous.
Gotta be careful. I see Katsuki Bakugo is here. Oh my god, dude. I am so upset because your show that I really love, My Hero Academia, was gonna come out this weekend, you know, the premiere for season 4, but apparently there was a typhoon, which is a terrible thing. It's basically hurricanes over the other side of the world, so I hope everything's fine over there. But I was also disappointed. So hopefully everything's fine and things start up next week.
Reminds me of when the Nintendo Direct got delayed because of the earthquake.
Oh, right.
It's around the same time of year. I think that was in September, so it was a few weeks before. But yeah, that happened, what, last year or the year before? When was that? I don't remember.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, man. Definitely.
Japan just can't catch a break, apparently.
No. I see Shifty is here. What's up, bro? How you doing, man? I don't know why I expected, like, he's usually, like, on the podcast. Like,
He's waiting.
Just waiting
I don't
patiently.
hear anything.
Yeah. Terry Siverton, what's up? 64 says, by the way, Luigi's Mansion on GameCube will always be the spookiest to me. Yeah, Shifty.
Yeah.
The Smash things. If you, I don't know if you're busy, but if you just message me on Twitter or Discord if you want to join to talk about the Smash stuff, because it's hectic. But maybe that's why you wouldn't, because it's hectic. It's pretty crazy, but you know, it's nonsense. Maybe not nonsense. We'll talk about it. For sure. We're gonna get into it. It is one of the topics for today. But you know, it looks like people are here now, so let's dump in. Did I just say dump? We're not dumping. We're gonna jump into the topics now, guys. So, first thing we're gonna be talking about actually is Pokemon news, because we actually got an assortment of it this week. So, just to get things started, I'll just put this image up here. A little bit image in new tab. So, because technically, Galarian Ponyta, the news for that came out, I guess like Tuesday, right? I guess. Yeah, I think it came out Tuesday. So basically what was confirmed is that Galarian Ponyta is a real thing. You know, we all thought it was actually a Ponyta variation. That we got right. But it's not fairy, it's actually psychic. And another thing that surprised me at least, not everyone, was that it's a Shield exclusive. And the reason it surprised me, and actually Shifty was here last week, we talked about it, was that if it was going to be exclusive and they would be teasing it for like a whole day, that they would have specified that its exclusivity when it was being teased. But I guess because it was only being teased and not actually officially revealed, they didn't feel the need to do that, because actually Galarian Ponyta is a Shield exclusive. So, weird, but apparently it is the counterpart to Sirfetch'd. Now, what's strange to me, right, and Brian, I don't know if you realize this, given your lesser Pokemon knowledge, right?
Right.
You're more, I feel like lesser is insulting.
It's true though.
It is true. I just wanted to like use a nicer word, like.
My knowledge is barely existent of the Pokemon.
Your Pokemon knowledge is still in its infancy.
Yes, very much so.
Okay. So, but anyway, Farfetch'd evolves into Sirfetch'd, right?
Right.
Galarian Ponyta, we haven't seen any of its evolutions yet, but obviously normal Ponyta evolves into Rapidash. But as we saw with the Zigzagoon line, there may be a third evolution here, right? But we have not seen, we've only seen one stage of each of these two Sword and Shield counterparts. Sirfetch'd is the at least second stage, right? Because we know Farfetch'd evolves into Sirfetch'd. We know that, but we haven't seen Farfetch'd yet. Farfetch'd may have a different form in Galar. We don't know. My personal speculation is it's the same and it evolves into Sirfetch'd, right? But we don't know that yet, right? Like for example, with Zigzagoon, it's a different form of Zigzagoon, then becomes a different form of Linoon, and then Obstagoon, which is not available for the normal Zigzagoon line in other places. But then for Ponyta, right, we know it's going to evolve into Rapidash, but we don't know if there's a third form there. Like, what if there's a form before Ponyta, or if there's a form that comes after? And this is the thing that's weird, because normally Ponyta is the first form, right? And we know that Sirfetch'd is the second form. So it just doesn't, it's not like an on par situation here, unless there is a form before Ponyta in this game, right? Then all of a sudden, they're actually showing off two second forms for an evolutionary line. That would be interesting to see, like a baby Ponyta, because actually, I believe, I could be wrong here, guys, if the chat, if you know what I'm referring to, let me know, but I believe I heard at one point, I think maybe for Generation 2, that a baby Ponyta was planned and was cut. Actually, I'm going to give that a quick Google search. How do you feel about this Galarian Ponyta, Brandon?
Yeah, I feel like that would make sense, because as you said, they're not on the same level there. I'm thinking that a baby Ponyta might be like the most adorable Pokemon that ever would exist. I just can't even imagine.
Could be wrong.
But so, when it does evolve into Rapidash, would that be a new form of Rapidash, or would it just be the normal one? I'd assume it would be.
It would be a new Rapidash for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's not gonna be the same one.
I didn't know how they handled that in Sun and Moon.
Well, they're handling it a little different in this game. But just look.
Okay.
I'm just quickly looking up to see the babies that were planned for Gen 2 that were cut.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Notably, Pokemon's second generation of games would have boasted many more baby Pokemon, including unevolved forms of generation creatures such as Meowth, Vulpix, Ponyta, Angela, Goldeen, Grimer, Growlithe, Paras, and Doduo. I'm just looking to see if there was a sprite for it here. Baby designs for Vulpix, Tangela, Goldeen, Paras, Meowth, Grimer. So I don't see a sprite for here, but it looks like Ponyta was considered. They did consider to have a baby form for it. So maybe we can see that actually come to fruition here.
Right.
Another interesting thing, there was also a planned evolution for Farfetch'd, and we've seen it. It doesn't look exactly the same, but we got Surfetch'd now. So maybe there's something going on there with perhaps another form here, just to give parity. I think that makes sense, but I also thought Fairy made sense for Ponyta, and that's not right, right? So
Yeah, I've seen so many people like, what the heck is Pokemon Company? What are you doing? Or, Game Freak, why is this the way that it is?
Hard to say.
I look at that and I'm just confused as well. I don't see how that it doesn't look like a psychic type Pokemon at all.
I don't know. There's also the whole element of put our faces back up for a little bit. The whole element that, like, I guess like Fairy and Psychic, there's a little bit of like overlap there, right? Like for example, Jirachi is a fairy, but its typing is Steel Psychic. Now, granted, Fairy came out afterwards, right? Like Fairy wasn't a typing for Pokemon. Jirachi came out, and why would you change? Like Steel Psychic's already pretty good typing, so like changing it would have been weird. But there's like that weird overlap there. I think sometimes like what might be Fairy might be Psychic. So it's weird. But and actually, I don't know if Vooper's in the chat, but I remember Vooper talking about it on Discord. There was like a comparison of like, I guess like Fairy and Psychic would just be like kind of like different kinds of mages, like a light mage or a red mage or something like that. So I guess I could kind of see like that, like just kind of like a different affinity of a magic user. But if you think of it in that way, I guess it kind of makes sense. But it is a little weird, and there's other types that are weird, like Ghost and Dark, for example, right? Like Ghost is for Pokemon that are dead, and Dark is for like evil type. Now that's not exactly the same, but there's definitely similarity there, right? There's some overlap. So I guess sometimes there's a little bit of confusion as to what a Pokemon might be, right? But anyway, Rapidash. Rapidash is exciting to me because I think it's gonna have wings.
Ooh.
I think it's gonna have wings. So
That would be cool.
Now there's a couple of different ways they could handle this. They could either A, just make it psychic flying, right, and give it a really cool ability, or B, another option I thought of, what if instead they give it wings, but they don't give it the flying type. They make it fairy psychic, right, and they just give it the ability to levitate. I would prefer that, right, but maybe as a psychic flying type, they could give it a really awesome ability that is better than whatever Ponyta has. Ponyta does have like this new ability that I forgot what it's called, but it basically kind of counters poison. I can see how it could be useful in like doubles, because you send it out, and if your opponent's trying to poison a Pokemon, or if your ally's poison, that reverses it. But here's the thing: in doubles, poison's not really that great of a strategy, because doubles is a lot faster, right? In singles, using Toxic is a really cool strategy. But here's the thing: I don't know how the ability is going to work. Like, if the ability cures Pokemon that are in your party when they're not out, and they're poisoned, then it's really good. But if it just counters poison when you're out there, then it doesn't matter, because the Pokemon that were poisoned, they're not, they're still poisoned because they're in your party. So I want to see how that ability works in single player, like in singles, I mean. Obviously, in singles, it would still counter the poison for Ponyta itself, but they kind of talked about how poison was really useful to cure your allies, but poison's not even that great of a strategy in doubles. But maybe that'll change in Sword and Shield. Hard to say. But we still have more news to talk about for Pokemon. Brandon, I know your Pokemon knowledge is, you're like, oh yeah, poison, great.
I know what poison does. Yeah, it poisons.
Yeah, let's just check another chat here. Cake Man, how's it going, man? HDT. I see. I don't even believe that makes sense for being a word to demonetize Shadow of Nexus. That's
really.
I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't bother to check the list. Cause I saw some words like, there's no way that makes any sense. Jugs McGee, what's up? It would be funny to look up the words. It just doesn't. Some of the ones that I've heard, like some of the ones you mentioned, just don't make sense for words to demonetize
make a video
you.
That's literally
you know
just
what?
reading the
You know
list.
what? Experiment. I'm gonna do it. I'll lose like 50 pennies, not even less. Shrek. What if like the lights turned off and it was like
sweater?
Yeah, I get swatted for that. Hickman, that is strange, as it makes Galarian Zigzagoon lines seem less important. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what they're doing with Sirfetch'd and Ponyta, because it doesn't, like, the way they're being presented is not entirely on par. Terry Sivertson, I'm surprised that Galarian Ponyta is a psychic type instead of a fairy type, because let's be honest, it does look like a fairy type. Terry Sivertson also said the dark type is called the evil type in Japan, which is weird, but, you know, also, I feel like demonic and evil have like a different connotation in Japan, right? Like, for example, Hercule from Dragon Ball, he's called Mr. Satan in Japan. They changed his name to Hercule here in America, right? But the things you think about, at least when I was growing up, especially because I was raised Catholic, like, if one of my favorite cartoon shows or anime, and then one of the characters is called Mr. Satan, and I was like, oh man, Mr. Satan's so funny, my parents were like, what are you watching? Right? Like,
what are you doing?
So it's a little weird,
yeah,
but
my parents would not have been okay with that either.
yeah, but if you watch Dragon Ball now, you're like, okay, there is no like real evil anything connotation with him, right? He's just kind of like a funny douchebag. Like, that's all he is. So
yeah, there's a lot of things in Japan where there's just demons, but they're just like good guys, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's weird how like the connotation's a little different. But let's talk. There's still more Pokemon stuff. We have a lot to talk about. Brandon, I didn't think we'd have so much to talk about. We actually do. They just had to think about it for a little while.
Yep.
So moving past Ponyta stuff, let's talk about file size. So, Pokemon Sword and Shield is going to be 10.3 gigabytes. I don't think that's a big deal. But there's a lot of people talking about it for several different reasons. People are saying that, oh my god, it's so huge, it means the game has lots of content. Not necessarily. It really comes down to how a team is using their files. Like, are they recycling a lot of stuff? Do they have really good compression technology? Right? Like, for example, Super Mario Odyssey is 5.7 gigabytes, and that game has more content and is longer than games that have 20 to 30 gigabytes. Right? Like, so it really kind of just depends.
Right. Yeah, and I just learned this last week, and I'll probably bring this up again for the final topic because it has something to do with that.
Okay.
But apparently, companies specifically on certain companies will do this. They'll multiply or they'll duplicate data several times, sometimes hundreds of times, so that when you're in a specific part of the data and in the storage, it's slower to move over to a different part to access something. So they'll have the same data in multiple compartments over and over again so that it doesn't have to switch. So that's why some games you'll notice are like 20 gigabytes, but they have like nothing compared to like a Nintendo game, which is like 5 gigabytes.
Very interesting that you bring that up.
Yeah. I didn't explain that the best, but hopefully that was...
What's interesting about that is that I remember at one point people looking at some of like the files for like older Pokemon games, and like there was a lot of repeated stuff. Now I don't know too much about it, but I wonder if maybe that was why they did that. Like a lot of people saw it and they're like, oh, this could have been. But a lot of people looked at that and just assumed that Game Freak was retarded. Like, oh, might get demonetized again. Not very well equipped to appropriately program a game. That was what a lot of people interpreted by seeing a lot of repeated like models and codes and different things like that. Like, I'm not a coder, so please forgive me. You know, I don't know, right? But it's just kind of interesting that you brought that up, that apparently that is something that is done because it makes things actually faster, even though if you look at it from a non-programmer's mindset, that's actually, it seems like a bad idea.
Right.
Interesting. So, just like a comparison though, right? Even though it's just weird because, well, I think 10.3 gigabytes is like, hey, that's a kind of a big game for a Pokemon game or a Nintendo published game. It is, right? Like Breath of the Wild, I think, is like 13.1 gigabytes. It's like a little bit over 13.
Right.
So you could compare them, but again,
Smash is like how much?
a big.
12?
I think Smash is even bigger.
I think it might be 16 actually for Smash, but I think it's the music that probably takes up.
But Smash is just stuffed with images and
Right.
it has like a billion stages. I'm exaggerating, but it just stuffed with a whole bunch of references to a whole bunch of different games, including the music. There's tons and tons of music there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I'll just quickly look the Smash file size. It tells me the size for Melee. I'm gonna be upset. 60 gigabytes. That's wrong.
That's not
13.6. Maybe they had to, you know, make it more. They compressed it beforehand. That would be interesting. Actually, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, apparently at one point during development it was 60 gigabytes, but they found ways to reduce that, and now it's at something a lot smaller, which I think I saw here at 13.6 gigabytes.
Seems Shadow Nexus is confirming that in the chat.
Which part?
That it was uncompressed 60 gigabytes, 13.6.
So I mean there you go. That is a that makes sense. 60 gigabytes when you compress it gets down to 13.6. Like, so my point is that a lot of developers don't. Maybe if they compress, they don't do a great job of it. There's different like considerations to take to have in mind when you're looking at these file sizes. But I guess for a more fair comparison, I think Pokemon Let's Go was 4.1 gigabytes, right? And that's an HD Pokemon game, right? Like I think Ultra Sun and Moon was like 3 point something gigabytes, but the thing about Ultra Sun and Moon, that's a 3DS game. Now I'm pretty sure that, like, we know that all the Pokemon models were designed in HD, but I'm not sure. I think they were even within the coding like that, but maybe that takes up a little bit more space. But in Let's Go, even a whole bunch of textures are in HD, right? So that takes up a lot more space. But Pokemon Sword and Shield has a lot more Pokemon than Pokemon Let's Go, right? It's a lot more models, right? And the world is definitely a lot bigger, right? So you take those things into consideration. That I don't know how that would all end up once you put it all into a file and compress it, but that obviously leads to a much bigger file size. So it doesn't necessarily mean that this game's gonna be like a 200-hour massive open RPG. I want that, but we looking at the file size doesn't really tell us that much. All it really tells us is that this game has more content than Let's Go, but that was a given. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, it seems about what you'd expect from going from Let's Go to, a full, more open, big, major Pokemon game with way more Pokemon open world areas and such like that. It's what you would expect. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised it's that small now that I think about it, since it's barely twice as big as Let's Go.
It has no content.
It's barely more than
because they cut all the Pokemon.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't know. Really, I'm just looking forward to playing the game. Like, we're getting more and more information about this game, which is making me more and more excited. Did you see that trailer for the town?
I did not.
You did not see the trailer for the town. I because of the way the podcast is set up, I feel like it won't work too well if I were to put it here. I could try. I don't know if it's worth it. I guess the thing is, I want your opinion on how the town looks. But it's nothing groundbreaking. The town looks fine. There's some iffy look things, like it's not like necessarily like the characters don't move too much, like the NPCs, like just something that people have complained about. But it's kind of what we've come to expect from a Pokemon game, I guess, right?
Right.
So there's that to consider. But that aside, like, I think it's compared to any previous town I've seen in any Pokemon game, it's the best looking town for any Pokemon game, right? So if you compare it to previous Pokemon games, Sword and Shield looks way better, but some people are complaining because when you compare it to, say, I don't know, like for example, Hateno Village in Breath of the Wild, it doesn't look as lively. Yeah, I agree with that. Right. But I never expected Game Freak to get a Pokemon game to match Breath of the Wild. I remember when we were talking about it before we knew about it, I would talk about how this mainline Pokemon game would be somewhere in between Breath of the Wild and the previous Pokemon game on 3DS, right? Like a middle ground. And I feel like that is pretty much spot on. Like it's a very middle ground between those two, which is obviously a really big window, but I really do feel like it's like in between that.
Yeah, I agree. My thing is, I saw it was like a town tour is what I saw it called, and I was like, I don't want them to go through the entire town and show me everything. I want to do that when I played the game, so I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I mean, all it does is just walk around, and it looks great, and the music's really good. So there's that. Oh, my only complaint is some of the NPCs don't move around too much. They move around a little, just not much. But apparently you can even hear like some Pokemon making cries, and you can see trees like swaying in the background. And you can see a lot in the background too, so that's really cool. You do see some pop-in though, with some models, which I know people are gonna complain about. But like I said, it's not Breath of the Wild, but it's definitely a step up from previous Pokemon games. So, one more thing I want to talk about in relation to Pokemon before we move on, and that is this right here. I'm going to pull it over. It's going to be blurry no matter what, Brandon, so don't be like, hey man, you should get a higher res shot. There is no higher res shot.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll pop up on the stream momentarily, but that is basically something from Koro, right? It's very zoomed in image. Like, I'll just show, I'm on Cerebi right now, right? I'll just exit this. It's from this image right here. This is like the cover page. Like, it's just small little image right here on the side. But basically, this is the whole wild area, which pretty much matches up with what we thought with the Galar map. But there was some questions as to if it would really cover that whole thing, and it does. Like when I'm seeing this, I'm like, okay, this is pretty big for the wild area. I was worried that the wild area would be mostly that 3-lake area, and then when it goes up to the north, it would just be like a little sliver. It almost looks like that other part to the north is like a second wild area.
Yeah, it seems to be just as big as the
right. It just has
area.
It may if you were to like measure in square footage, it might even be a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it does look like it might be a little bigger.
It's just spread out vertically, so it's hard to tell for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird shape, so.
It's definitely a weird shape because it's just area like slaughtered into the entire Galar map that surrounds it, right? But I like how it looks. I think it's gonna be fun to play. You know what? The vibe it gives me? It gives me the vibe of a Hyrule Field, actually, because in Hyrule, I mean for Ocarina of Time. Now with Hyrule Field and Ocarina of Time, it was basically just the map. It was one giant field in the middle of the map. And you go to different parts of the map at the edges, and there's like a different town there, right?
Right.
That's kind of how this looks now. I feel like obviously there's more around this wild area map, but basically the point is that this is a giant field you can explore, and when you get to certain parts, it looks like you can like you can get into this town, you can get to this town, especially the second part, the more northern part of the wild area, because I know that part is surrounded by even more towns.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can pull up a Galar map just so you guys can have a good comparison. Yeah.
But I like that comparison to Ocarina of Time. I think that works really well, actually.
Yeah. But this black screen is not doing me. Oh, this is supposed to be the Galar map, it's just not showing up. All right, there it is. So there it is. Like as you can see, let me if I zoom in a little here. Right, that Brandon, I'm assuming you're watching the podcast, right? So you can see so I need to see what I'm looking at though. I want to put them side by side. Right. Does that work? Yeah, that works, right? Yeah. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
That works.
Pretty well.
So, you got this round area over here. That's literally this round area over here, right? And you go up this blue little river. that's this river right here, right? And then when it goes up, we see a river area over here, and there it is, and there's a little bit of island right before the cliff, and there's this area that I assume there's a cliff right around. So this map here, the Galar map, is not to scale, just for the record. But the point out there, I want to bring this up though, is that once you get to this area though, this northern wild area, you have this town to the side, 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 and then there's a path over here. So just, you know, going, I'm just trying to support my point how it's a Hyrule field effect, how you got a field in the middle, and then around it there are different towns you can enter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool. I mean, it's the way it's constructed. It's like when you want to go from one town to another, you're gonna find yourself perhaps crossing through the wild area in between towns.
Right.
I mean, I'm kind of excited about it, man. I mean, I was always hyped for the wild area, but now I'm like, I definitely, I'm feeling this. I'm really feeling what we're seeing.
I like that effect in Ocarina of Time, so I think that would be cool for this game as well. I like that comparison a lot. Big fan of it, actually. Now that you brought it up, that actually makes me like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, right? It's pretty awesome. So let's check in with the chat here. Alexander Baruso, hello. Question. Breath of the Wild sequel will have the same size map, bigger map, or smaller map with the drive, with more drive history? Don't disappoint me. I
imagine it would be bigger.
Same size map, a bigger map, or a smaller map.
Imagine it'd be the same map.
I guess I just don't know the part where he says with more drive history.
I don't know what that means, to be honest.
Yeah, I hope I don't disappoint you, Alexander. I don't understand that part, but I do believe the map will be bigger. We know that Breath of the Wild is going to take place in Hyrule, Breath of the Wild 2. Right. That's confirmed already. But I guess the considerations here is that how much bigger can it be? Now, I would personally love it if they were to extend the border, but I don't know if they will do that. I want that to happen, but I don't know. What I do feel pretty confident in saying, though, they're going to really build upon the verticality of Hyrule this time around. So, if you watch the trailer, at the very end, we see Hyrule Castle rising up, and that's confirmed by, like, if you pay attention, like, it's not just shaking, it's actually going up. Like, if you watch the tower compared to the horizon, it goes up. But anyway, there's also a lot of shaking. There's obvious seismic activity, right? Hyrule itself is shaking, leading one to believe earthquakes, changing of the environment. There's probably going to be some things coming out of ground, mountains breaking up, going underground. So the actual, like, I guess topography, right? Is that the right word to use? Is going to change for Hyrule, right, this time around. So that's going to change. But also, I believe there's a strong suggestion that there's going to be a lot of underground exploration, right? So that adds a whole other layer, literally, to what we could explore for Breath of the Wild. So that alone makes it bigger by having that underground layer. And then
I'm
obviously
also hoping for underwater, because there's a lot of water, especially down the south part of the map, that you can't really do anything in. You can, I mean, obviously you can travel across it, but there's not much there.
Yeah. So, right, I agree with you. I would love to see that, more aquatic exploration. And one more thing I would like to see is not just underground and underwater exploration thrown in there along with a map that's just been changed around because of seismic shifts, but also islands in the air, right?
Oh, yes.
They could do that. Right? Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword had masses in the air, right? Obviously Skyward Sword had a lot more, but it'd be cool to see some of that, right?
Did it have a lot more, though? Did it really?
Yes, because we're talking about one dungeon in the air, right, for Twilight Princess, dungeon. And Skyward Sword had one pretty big town, a lot of small islands, a tavern, and I guess technically 2 dungeons in the air with a couple like little ruins. There was, I know you're just making a joke, but it was not huge. I agree with you, but there was definitely something there. Like if we get all of that in Breath of the Wild, I'd be pretty happy with that. But, you know, so, yes, the short answer to your question, yes. The map in Breath of the Wild 2 will be bigger than the previous one, but it's going to be based off the original map, just changed dramatically.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a question specifically for me.
Yeah.
Have I checked out Duster from Mother 3 in the Game Boy Advance? I think I did, and I didn't think... I don't know if I saw the right character, but it had, like, pink hair, and I was like, this doesn't look anything
It's
like
you.
me, so I was very confused. How did I feel about playing VR, or Breath of the Wild in VR mode? I have a video all about that. You can check on the channel, but in the quick, version, I like it a lot. It adds a lot to the sort of depth of the world, I guess. The scale of the world feels much bigger and more grand, I guess you could say. You can really tell just how the size of everything is relative to your character and relative to everything else. It's very interesting. It's kind of hard to explain. I explained it a lot better in my video, but the scale of the world is much more impressive in VR, if that makes any sense. So I think it's really great.
Brandon, I'm getting excited because we're having a good discussion.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot to talk. I didn't think we have so much to talk about, but there's a lot here. We're still in the Pokemon stuff. Well, we're done with Pokemon stuff, but we're just answering questions now. Let me see here. There was something. Okay. Oh, Vilbeard, what's up, man? How you doing? Sinus Joe, I can't wait to explore the wild area. I'm gonna get there and spend most of my time running around and exploring, just like when I got to Metro Kingdom and Mario Odyssey. Yeah, dude, I've been really wanting an open environment to explore for Pokemon. We got it for Mario, we got it for Zelda, now we're gonna get it for Pokemon, and soon we're gonna get it for freaking Metroid. It's gonna happen. I want it to happen. And for the record, I'm not saying I want Metroid to be entirely open world. I want open areas within Metroid. But that's another discussion for another... well, we could talk about it, but... if someone asks a question, we'll talk about it. But there is a Metroid question here, actually. Alexander Brusso, on the last stream, you mentioned a video on Metroid for development not being so delayed. I have checked everyone. I couldn't find it. Can you mention it again? Please. So, I guess my problem is I'm not sure what you're referring to. I mentioned a video on Metroid 4 development not been so delayed. I just don't know what you're referring to. Like, I wish I could give you the answer. You'd have to rephrase the question. And I know the English is a little bit of a barrier. I understand that. So, just do if you have anything else you can sort of say that might get rejogged my memory, please do so. But what I can say is that I literally made a Metroid video that came out yesterday, right? That video we talked about, but I spent hours working on it. I would hope I remember something.
I've had the same thing happen to me where I'm like, what did I talk about in the video?
Yeah. Yesterday we talked about what Retro Studios could bring to Metroid Prime 4, right? And what I had to, there was a couple articles, one in particular, I asked a whole bunch of people, including you, Brandon, if I could find it. Eventually I found it myself, but it wasn't a video interview like I was hoping. It was just a really old article from 2013, and it just kind of talked about what Retro Studios and Tanabe would have done with the Wii U Metroid Prime. And I just used that to sort of, it gave me some ideas of what Retro Studios might do for Metroid Prime 4 now, right? Basically, in that video, I talked about how Retro Studios could handle Metroid Prime 4, right? And I go into more detail there. But basic things, gyroscopic aiming, they might find ways to speed up gameplay a little bit because it's a more modern game, right? We have higher expectations for how games are done now. We want things to be more streamlined. Things along those lines to sort of get into in this video. But in terms of me trying to understand the question to the Metroid Prime development not being so delayed, I guess. Well, it is delayed. Metroid Prime 4 has been delayed. That's on Nintendo's channel, right? Just look up Metroid Prime 4 development update. They announced that. But in terms of like more information on what's actually happened, oftentimes I bring up what Imran Khan said, who's a former senior editor for Game Informer. If you check out my Metroid video, there's a link to his tweets in that video if you want to see that information, where he talks about what he heard from behind the scenes with Metroid Prime 4's development, right? So if you want more information on that, check the sources in my video. There is some information on that. Actually, I see a question here. So you're saying, this is from Alexander. On the last podcast stream, you mentioned a video you just saw on the Metroid development claiming that the development could be way more advanced than we think. It was on the beginning of the last podcast. I got you. So that is from DocTray81. I saw a video from DocTray81. Yeah, no, I did mention a video. You reminded me. I saw a video from DocTray81. So I'll put it in the chat. He's a pretty cool guy. Some people have a problem with him, but I think he's cool. Doctor81. You search that, go to his channel, you'll find him. He talks about Metroid sometimes too. I put it in the chat. But you know, he didn't provide any big conclusive proof. Just that his main point from the video that I was referencing was just that we sometimes see job listings for games. Those job listings aren't necessarily indicative of how far into development that game is, right? So if we get a job listing, the game might still come out 6 months later. There are some examples of that, actually. Sword and Shield. That game's coming out this year. We saw job listings for that earlier in this year, right? If I remember correctly.
Did we? For which game? Excuse me?
Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Oh.
I have to look it up.
I don't remember that one.
Do you have any in mind though? Like examples when we hear job listings and the game comes out like less than a year from now.
We saw job listings for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and that was one of the reasons people were like, "Oh, it's not coming out 2017."
Well, that's like 2 years back.
Right.
You know what? Here's an idea. We'll make a video on it later on. We'll provide like facts proving our point or disproving our point. This is going to require some research, right? But basically, that's what he talked about in the video. That if we see job listings, that doesn't necessarily mean it. And from what I remember, I've seen examples where job listings don't really tell us that. Because the thing is, hiring happens all throughout development. So, you know, just because something... They're always developing the game, right? So they may hire them for just a couple months or what have you, and there you go. That's it. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned about it. Because we've actually seen a lot of hirings for Breath of the Wild, too. But I do believe that game is still coming out 2020. Which we probably will talk about a little bit later into this discussion because... next-gen conversations. Right. So before we move on to the next topic, I have a question or just a point from Vilbeard. I kind of have the theory that Star Fox Grand Prix was real, but because of something, the game concept was not working, and now the ship mechanics engine could be recycled for Metroid Prime 4. That'd be really cool to see, you know, a lot of those mechanics reused. I'm of the frame of mind that Star Fox Grand Prix was a hoax at this point, just because we haven't seen it yet, right? And from what we've heard from reliable
I'm thinking
leakers,
it might have been the... Oh, what was that? The game that had Star Fox in it that was made by, I think, Ubisoft? Starlink, yes. Starlink had that DLC update that came out that was...
It had racing.
Yeah. And it was Star Fox. I think somebody saw that and was like, oh my gosh.
I'm just saying, like, game. If I saw that, there was no way I would mistake that for a whole Star Fox Grand Prix game, come up with a logo for it, and talk about this story and hub world. Like, that just... I'm confused about that. But again, you know, there's a lot of different things that can happen behind the scenes. We don't know exactly what happens. This is why, even when a leak comes from a credible source, you have to take it with a grain of salt, right? Great example. Let's look at Metroid Prime 4, right? I'm not going to talk about leaks or rumors that happened before it came out, but let's just say you are someone who had the know on Metroid Prime 4, and you knew that the plan was for it to come out 2019, right? Like, you knew that. That was the plan, and you leaked that, right? And then, a month later, Nintendo's like, hey guys, Metroid Prime 4 is not coming out this year, because we have to restart development. That's not because you were wrong. Plans literally changed, because Nintendo checked out the development, they're like, hey, this is not working out, and they restarted development. Right, so that's just like a potential example of where things just change sometimes in development, even when you have real, legitimate information. So, you know, hard to say for sure what's actually going on there. But either way, regardless of if it was Star Fox Grand Prix or something, there's no way Retro Studios has gone 4 to 5 years without working on anything. While I do personally believe they have another game probably complete and ready to come out soonish, right? Even if they don't, they've been working on stuff. Maybe some of that stuff could be recycled for Metroid Prime 4. As I've referred to many times, Imran Khan did note that there was a demo that Retro Studios showed off to Nintendo and they liked it. Maybe that demo was more than just a proof of concept. Maybe it was actually like a playable build of something. They could be building off of that. And if that's the case, maybe Metroid Prime 4 won't take that long. This is my own personal suspicion. There's not too much evidence behind it, but I do kind of suspect that we'll see Metroid Prime 4 teased at E3 2019. Kind of like the way Breath of the Wild was teased last E3.
You mean E3 2020?
Yes, because 2019 already happened. Right, yes. Thank you. At E3 2020, my suspicion, my hope is that Metroid Prime 4 is teased, right? Maybe even a little bit less than what we saw for Zelda, but we see like the first glimpse of it next E3, and that's it. Just a quick little trailer, and we won't hear about anything else about it until 2021.
Right. I guess that's possible.
Possible,
I'm not banking
but we have
on
no
that
idea.
at all.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't. Why would you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I understand. I'm not upset. But let's move on. So, next topic in order is Little Town Hero. So, Little Town Hero, as I mentioned in the beginning, neither of us have played it, but we saw a lot of footage for it. You saw footage for it, right? And
Yeah.
I like what I saw. I felt like there was some moments where I felt like the camera kind of like stopped awkwardly, and I don't know if that was just the feed that I was watching, or if that's the game itself. Right, especially because the game's coming out like what, this week?
Weird stuttering issues.
Yeah, a little bit. And also the characters they walk when you approach them in place, which I think is kind of awkward.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
But otherwise, I find the game to be quite charming. I like the music. It looks like Toby Fox did a good job.
Good.
Right? For those who don't know, Toby Fox is the guy who...
Forgot Toby Fox did this too.
Yeah, he's responsible for this little guy called Sans in the game he's from, right? Which is kind of considered like a spiritual successor to Earthbound, sort of. Not official. It's not official. But cool stuff, man. It's cool. And I think the game looks cool. I actually like the battle system. I kind of just want to play it myself. I was like, man, I want to play this myself. I want to use this battle system. I want to control what's going on here because I don't like the decisions that are being made here. I want to make my own decisions. So, it looked fun. Honestly, I think it looks good.
Yeah,
I'm interested in it.
I think the battle system was the highlight for me because it's been made by Game Freak.
Yep,
So
they make Pokemon.
They make Pokemon, but this is not anything like Pokemon. In fact, it is more interesting to me than Pokemon. Not in the same way. Obviously, Pokemon has its competitive scene. It's very different. But as far as like an actual single player story, like this battle system, you need to think. The battle system in most Pokemon games for the main story, you don't really need to think as
I understand the point you're trying to make. I don't like it.
You don't like it?
No, I get it. I get what you're saying. It does seem more mentally demanding. Like the baseline level is a little harder, it seems. Yeah, I understand that. It is very... I mean, the RP, it's like a puzzle, right? Mm-hmm. It is. It's kind of like a number puzzle. Like,
It seems very similar to if you have seen any of the card-based RPGs that come out.
It's similar to that. It really is. Because you get thoughts, right? Mm-hmm. Which is really cool to me. And what's interesting about it is I haven't played Undertale yet or Deltarune, but I have played Earthbound. It's not the same, but I do have similar vibes from that. And what's also interesting is I don't know too much about it. I want to do some more research on this, but there is like a bit of a connection between Earthbound and Pokemon as well. It's kind of like as the Earthbound series sort of stopped happening for Nintendo, the Pokemon series did start happening for Nintendo. So like from one RPG to another. There's definitely a video coming for that, more of like a historical analysis on that I don't know very much on right now. I have to do some research. But it gave me, it gives me kind of like those vibes a little bit, Earthbound vibes. Okay. It's not the same, not at all, but
right.
It still reminded me of it.
Yeah, I will say, while I thought the battle system looked really good, story and like the pacing of the story.
Attack on Titan.
It's very awkward.
Chibi Attack on Titan.
I don't know. The
pacing Chibi Attack on Titan. Don't you read it? You don't get it? Don't you understand? You know what I mean, though, right? Or no?
I guess.
Because they cannot leave this town, right? It looks like they're surrounded by mountains.
I gotcha.
There's only one way out through the castle, and they don't know what's on the other side. They've been living in this town their whole lives. Most of those people in the town just live in the town. They live and die in the town. But there's something outside that's not letting them go out. They don't even believe what's weird is that they don't even believe monsters exist. So if they don't believe monsters exist, Why aren't they allowed to leave the town? You know?
Yeah, I thought that was a bit strange.
But maybe it's something they'll address with the story.
I'm like, okay. Sure.
I think it's something they might address with the story. Actually, it might get kind of compelling to sort of find out why these things are happening.
The story itself seems interesting. It's more the presentation of the story.
People don't like the way the speech happens. Like there's like a little. Some people are comparing it to kind of like Animal Crossing.
It felt very much like Banjo-Kazooie or Animal Crossing to me.
I was okay with it. I didn't love it, but I was okay with it.
I always liked those in those games. So
it doesn't bother me too much.
My problem was just the pacing of the story felt weird. It felt like things just happened like very too quickly. I don't know. It was like very jumping from one thing to the next very quickly, and it felt disconnected almost. It was just like something would happen, all of a sudden they'd be like, okay, now it's the next day. I'm like, oh, okay, it's the next day now. And then, I don't know, it felt really disjointed almost. Or it was just too disconnected feeling. It didn't feel like it flowed right. It was weird. It's hard to... I'm not explaining it very well, I don't think. But it didn't feel like the flow of the story was very good.
Okay.
Also, I'm not sure about the writing. I didn't really particularly enjoy the writing.
This is one of those things where like small sample size for me, right?
Right.
Can't say I don't want to confirm or deny that because, well, I don't know.
For like one example is you're training Night Dude. You do one battle. All of a sudden you're at work. You talk to like 3 people. All of a sudden work's over. You're back at home. And then the next day you're just training again. It felt like really like you were just jumping all over the place. Like you weren't in one specific area for very long before you were suddenly thrown into somewhere else. I will say
that I understand why they did it. I had to think about it for a moment. Like, why did they do that? And it makes sense actually because they introduce you to a little bit of the combat system, right? Then you go on a brief, I guess, side quest, right? It's not a side quest because it's integral to the story. But you do this, you find the gem, which is why that whole moment is important. Like I thought they would do like some sort of mini game a little bit more about that, which is where I was a little disappointed.
I thought it went too.
Right? Maybe that's the thing that I think could have been better. Like if there was actually like a coal mining mini game that was kind of important to the story, because maybe you go back to the coal mine throughout the game and collect more gems. Maybe you do.
Right.
Maybe you still do that, but there was no mini game or anything to it. Like we just found it because of the story, right? But once you have the gem, it changes your mechanics. Like it actually gives you powers. And then the next day, right, like you learn a little bit more about the battle system. Then you go inside, thinking it's the end of the day, but no, boss fight. So I'm okay with it. I also feel like the footage that I saw, like if I played it, I would have done it faster, right? I would have handled it better. But you know, it is what it is. I liked what I saw. I don't know how expensive the game is. Do we know the price? I imagine we do.
I don't know.
Gotta Google it.
I'm not sure.
Gonna have to Google it.
I just kind of assume everything's $60.
No, it's not a physical release. It's just if it's only it's not $60. Like I'm willing to bet $60 it's not $60. 25.
It'd be nice if it wasn't.
5.
It's $25.
$5 according to imore.com.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. What does Nintendo.com say? Price of it on Nintendo.
$1 million.
Free. Free on Nintendo. It's $25. Okay.
$25.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
It's okay.
I like to say $25.
Not bad. Yeah.
I like paying less for games. It's nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm probably gonna get this game. It comes out. Well, we'll see. Like, I'm not sure I'll get it immediately, but mainly just because I have bills to pay. That's really it.
I need to see reviews to know if I'm gonna get it immediately. The battle system looks really promising. Everything else looks okay, like it works, but it didn't look amazing. Like I can definitely tell this is a $25 game.
Right. Well,
not a $60 game.
When I saw this game for the very first time, I knew that this was not gonna. I expected it to be just a digital release, because it's based on one town. That's the game.
Right.
One town. That's where you are.
I wonder if you ever get to go outside the town. That's like the whole point of this.
Maybe at the end of the game, you see it. I don't know. An interesting. Well, maybe they could like really to play
I
the
feel
game to
like
find
you
out.
have to go outside the town eventually.
Eventually, but it's not going to open up to a whole other open adventure. That's not going to happen.
Right.
No. Although maybe that's what a sequel could be, right? If it does well.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
If it does well, they're not marketing this thing like at all.
We'll see what happens.
I'm very curious about how it's gonna sell because they.
I don't know. Maybe
not.
Pokemon. It's not really. It's not really related to Pokemon.
The first gameplay where we actually understand how the game plays, and doesn't it come out this month?
Yeah.
When does it come out? Like
Did I
next
not?
week?
Yeah, we're talking about Little Town Hero. NAK.
Yeah.
We're talking about. Hard to say, man. I'm more interested in this game than that other game that wasn't doing well.
Oh,
The mech game.
Yes. What was it called? It shows you how much I care about this game.
So, you guys can hear that, right? In the chat? You guys can hear the dog howling? I was hoping that this, like, little thing would stop that, but it's so loud, it's still very audible.
Yes.
He won't stop. He won't stop. I'm literally, this is great. Good for him. He's been put away because he ate garbage. So, yeah, and no one's paying attention to him, apparently. Whatever. Actually, if this keeps up, I'll have to tell him to be quiet. So, but anyway, back on topic. Yeah, I was referring to Daemon X Machina NAK. I'm more excited for this game than Daemon X Machina. Daemon X Machina just wasn't really jiving with me. This game, just seeing the gameplay of it, it seems more fun to me.
The battle system definitely looks fun. Like, I love RPGs where I really gotta think, I really gotta calculate, I gotta be careful about what I'm doing. I love that in games like Octopath Traveler, in games like Xenoblade Chronicles. Love it, so.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out more about the game very soon. So, for sure. But let's check in with the chat here. Alexander Baruso, Luigi Mansion on the story mode is fully compatible co-op. Do you guys like it? I love this so I can play with my girlfriend. Well, yeah, I'm actually really interested. I don't have a girlfriend to play with, but, you know, I want to play the game. I think it looks really good. We'll talk.
Yeah, I think the co-op is really cool. I just probably won't use it myself because I don't have anybody to play it with.
Right, if there was someone that wanted to play the game with me, then maybe I would. Maybe, we'll see. Another thing. And what the hell happened with Retro Studios' mystery game that they have worked on for like 5 years? No solution on Reggie's Tease as well. Yeah, we don't know, right? We don't know. Now, I did make a video at one point saying that the Reggie Tease was in reference to Monita, leading me to believe that Retro Studios worked on a Nintendo Land game, but that has not happened. So, I'm gonna have to quell the beast, Brandon. Mm-hmm. So, can you just do me a favor and talk about what you think Retro Studios is doing while I quell the beast?
Yeah, I'll just read some of the comments as well. You know, it's a good question. I don't know what game or what Retro Studios is doing. I don't even know what I was trying to say there. I'd imagine that they've been working on Metroid Prime Trilogy. You know, that's the hope. You would hope that they're working on that. Obviously, we saw a lot of rumors for that late last year. Hasn't turned into anything. So you'd hope that that's what they're working on. But then again, if it's just a remake, it doesn't necessarily even have to be a made by Retro Studios. It could be that. But I imagine Retro Studios would probably take that. You would hope. Yeah, I think, honestly, one of the things they definitely have to be working on is Metroid Prime Trilogy, which I was just talking about. That's kind of, like, the only thing I can think of, like, to actually predict, like...
We know they're working on Metroid Prime 4, that's confirmed.
Right,
also,
right.
Excuse the noise, guys. This is what happens when you live with other people and animals.
Yeah.
And they don't like when, like, the bird had to scream at my dog because he got excited when I took him out of the cage and starts jumping on him, and I'm sorry. There's not much I can do right now. I had to just figure out a better recording environment, I guess, but it'll take a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's obviously there's ideas. We have ideas, but there's no like conclusive evidence for anything. The best thing I got is that Retro Studios has worked on some sort of Nintendo Land sequel because they literally created art for what I'm super confident is a new version of Monita. It doesn't have to be Nintendo Land. It may not even. It could be something that may never come to fruition, right? It could be something canceled, but it's something that Reggie knew about, so that's why they put it in a personal piece of art for him, right? So, you know, possibilities. It may not even be a game. What Retro Studios has been helping out with the Nintendo Land or Nintendo World Park at Universal. Maybe Monita's a part of that, which would be really cool, actually, because Monita, Nintendo Land, it makes a lot of sense, right? So, those are possibilities. I think obviously something was canceled, right? It's been too long.
Yeah.
Maybe they worked on another Donkey Kong game. I'd like to see a 3D one. Maybe you know, there's something there. I actually have a theory video coming sooner or later. I'd say within a couple weeks because there's different things I need to talk about, and I can only make so many videos at once. But something related to Banjo-Kazooie, you know, just. Maybe Retro's working on a Banjo game. I don't know. Well, we'll see. Gotta do some research first. Terry Siverton. I think it's really cool that Toby Fox composed music for Little Town Hero and made a remix of Megalovania for Smash Ultimate to go along with the Sans Beat costume. I think it's really cool. Absolutely. I'm super into it, and I've loved what I've seen for both the music in Little Town Hero so far, which isn't that much, but I did like what I heard, and Megalovania and Smash is great. What I didn't hear what you said, Brandon. I heard a little bit.
I think the music in Little Town Heroes is really good so far.
Cool. So Urkel does not like that Toby Fox has to waste his talent on Little Town Hero. Unfortunate.
I don't think it's a waste of talent. I think he's doing good. Obviously, he wants to do it. It's not like he's being forced to do this. Like he chose to do it.
Yeah. Let's see here. Alexander, Game Over Jesse, the Zelda YouTube channel, covered last year on the news a respected leaker that Wind Waker and Twilight Princess would definitely come to the Switch. And we also have a tease for Skyward Sword by Onuma, so how does this game fit the schedule with Breath of the Wild sequel? This is how it happens. They don't come. The league is wrong. Hard to say. I think it would be weird if we get Link's Awakening this year and then we get another remake next year. And nothing else. But at the same time, though, beginning of this year, we got New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe Extravaganza Amazing Batch port, right? And then a few months later, we got Mario Maker 2. So, like, it wasn't even like beginning of the year, end of the year. It was like beginning of the year, midway through the year, right? It was like a 5 to 6 month gap. So, there's precedent for there to be a port of a previous game, right, and then still a bigger version to come out later, right? So I can see a situation where maybe Wind Waker or Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword are ported to the Switch at the beginning of next year, and Breath of the Wild 2 still comes out for holiday season.
I think that could happen for Wind Waker HD or Twilight Princess HD because they have already been made. I don't think Skyward Sword HD would come out the same year as Breath of the Wild 2. That just doesn't make too much sense to me personally. I feel like they would.
I just don't think it's happening.
I think it's happening eventually. I don't know if it's gonna happen anytime soon.
It's hard to say because Onuma did he said that at an interview at a concert, but what did that mean, right? He said, "Oh, Skyward Sword for Switch, right? That's what you guys want." I don't know.
Maybe he was drunk.
Or maybe he just means that there's gonna be a lot of Skyward Sword elements in Breath of the Wild too. Maybe. Hard to say. Or maybe Breath of the Wild 2 just isn't coming out next year. And we do get another port. Or 2.
Could be.
We don't know. I'm going to try to get Luigi's Mansion free day 1. For sure.
Yeah, I'm going to be getting day 1.
Cake Man. That Reggie picture is really curious. I wonder what it is and why he has it.
Why he hit it. He corrected himself in a comment after that.
Oh, why he hit it. Oh, why they hit it. Right, because the way the Mario statue is, it's blocking off what that character is. Right, it is very curious. Absolutely. We haven't heard anything about it since then, which is weird. I think it may just be timing. Right, I think that was probably one, like, that may have been the thing that Reggie wanted to do for fans, but before stepping down, like, that was, like, his last, like, hey, guys, I'll throw you this, right? But it wasn't actually time for it to be publicly announced. And maybe we'll hear about it this year. Makes sense to me. We'll see. Briefing Golem, imagine it is just a reference to the Reginator.
If it was,
it is robotic.
They would hide it.
Right. But maybe it wasn't intentionally hidden.
I feel like if it wasn't intentionally hidden, he would have released another picture showing the whole thing.
Maybe,
everybody's up in arms about it.
Yeah.
Like, he would have been like, guys, like, calm down. It's just this.
Yeah. Yeah. Alexander, is Mario Maker 2 dead? Nobody talks about it anymore. Totally the opposite with Smash Ultimate, for example. I think people still play it, but
Smash
I don't...
Ultimate's a different beast.
It is a different beast.
It's getting new DLC.
Right.
Smash. It's not Mario Maker. Like, people still play the game. They still stream and stuff. It's not like...
Yeah.
Nobody's...
Not to mention, this year is just busy with games, but I think Mario Maker 2 is still played. Just,
and people just started playing it a lot more now that you can play with friends online, so...
True. And maybe they could still announce DLC for it. Have they announced DLC for it?
No, I don't think so.
So they could. Still, it's still early. Yeah, Alexander had one more question. Will we see Star Fox game on Switch? I mean, no remakes, a new game. I'm gonna say yes.
I'd hope so. Like an actually good game. That'd be great.
This is my reasoning for why I think a Star Fox game, a new one, will happen on Switch. Just because we have a situation with the Switch where all of Nintendo's handheld developers and console developers are focusing on one platform now. What does that mean? That means more games are coming out instead of them focusing on creating a handheld and console version for each franchise. We're getting more games. We've already seen evidence of that already, right? So, and also I think the plan is for the Switch to have a longer than normal like cycle for a typical Nintendo system. So, taking both those things into consideration, that's a lot more attempts at having a new game or, a new game for different franchises on the system. So I think that's just because of that, there's just a higher chance of it happening. And I think there's a demand for it.
I've actually been thinking about making a video on what I want to see from a new Star Fox game, so I might do that in the next couple weeks. It's not really a priority.
Return to Dinosaur Planet. Yeah.
I don't know, that could be kind of cool. But I've been having that on the back burner. Just kind of, waiting for a rainy day. Pull that one.
Yeah. So, NAK, I'm not big on Luigi's Mansion 3. I haven't beat the first or second game. I only played Luigi's Mansion 1 once, and when my family and I were at a hotel, and the room had a Nintendo GameCube. That's a cool hotel.
Yeah, I've never had a hotel with a Nintendo GameCube.
Briefing Golem. A lot of people still play Mario Maker 2, not as much talk as it is going on it's not the exact same thing as Smash, and then there hasn't been any major updates to add new things, right? Smash is always talked about because there's always speculation about DLC, right? Yeah. That's just continually coming. Like, if there wasn't DLC, it would still be talked about because of, like, tournaments and stuff, which aren't for Mario Maker, but I guarantee you there's still a whole bunch of Mario Maker going on. People watch that and get involved with that.
Mm-hmm.
Alexander, what dead franchise you would like to see revive? No remakes or poor. I would like to see a new Mystical Ninja game.
Yes.
I would like to see Golden Sun brought back. Golden Sun or F-Zero. See you later, NAK. But let's move on. Unless there's anything else you want to add in terms of Little Town Hero.
No. I think I might pick up the game. I'm gonna wait for reviews first, though.
Okay. Cool. So, we're going to talk about Luigi's Mansion 3. Basically, so the reason I'm talking about this topic is because Mandy had sent me a message just like, hey, are you excited for Luigi's Mansion? We were talking about it a little bit, and then we started talking about the BitBlocks video about Luigi's Mansion 3. And I had not seen it yet, but I heard people talking about it because it was very, very negative. And then... guess what happened? I saw it eventually, and the BitBlock just kind of like continually attacked Luigi's Mansion 3 with that overview trailer.
Well, I mean, it's the BitBlock, so.
Right. He was just kind of like negative about it. Like he brought up a couple points that he liked, but for the most part, he's like, "Oh, this is bad. This is dumb. I don't like this." Like he had some arguments to be made for sure, but overall, I just felt like he was too negative. Like I don't see how I see Luigi's Mansion 3. I'm like, hey, this looks pretty darn good. It's amazing how people can have different opinions like this. But anyway, one point that I thought was interesting was that it just doesn't have that spooky atmosphere. And I'll admit that as I've seen the game, one thing that I'm still sort of waiting to be answered though is this game spooky? Is it going to creep me out? Am I going to play this and have some scares? I don't know yet. And it is, well, I do like the variety of the environments we've seen for Luigi's Mansion 3, and I like the designs of the characters, and I like the animations, and the world is so interactive, and the puzzles look really cool. It doesn't look scary.
Right. I will admit, yeah, it's not a scary game. I personally don't see this as a problem, but it's one of those games where it has a sort of spooky atmosphere, but you're not actually scared. Like, does that make sense? Like you're kind of it's spooky, but you're not actively like terrified. If that makes sense. It's definitely more cartoony. I guess it's kind of like when you're this is a weird analogy, but it's kind of like Scooby-Doo. Like you watch Scooby-Doo, it's spooky, but you're not scared watching Scooby-Doo. It's a cartoon. You know? It's still spooky, but you're not scared. That's a weirdly weird analogy, but it's what I'm going with because I came up with it on the spot. It feels very Scooby-Doo to me in that sense. It's cartoony, so it's still spooky. You can definitely still tell, like, it's spooky, but it's not scary. You're not gonna get, your heart's not gonna start racing. You're not
I guess the thing is that with Scooby-Doo, though, there is... No, I haven't seen... Scooby-Doo's had a lot of different, like, versions and iterations, right? It's had different art styles. But, like, the old Scooby-Doo, right? When I saw as a kid, the old, like, some of the original seasons, even though... You're right, like it's still like a very whimsical sort of environment, right? Even though it's set in like scary and spooky worlds, it's still like the colors, the actual like areas were very dark, right? There's like a lot of very dark parts. It's just kind of like it wasn't like bright, is what I was trying to say in terms of like the colors. Like it was like if you just saw stills of it minus the actual gang, it looks kind of creepy, right? You look at Luigi's Mansion, it's very colorful throughout. I haven't seen too many parts where it's like really dark. Like if you played the original Luigi's Mansion, I'm basing this off of memory, but it was not nearly as colorful, right?
No,
it was very
it had a
dark.
much more. It had a darker color palette that is a lot less saturated.
Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to think of the word, but it's not coming to mind. But yeah, just generally less colorful. Also, kind of thought it was more plain though. I don't know. I personally prefer Luigi's Mansion 3 in terms of art style because I didn't think that the original Luigi's Mansion was scary either. It just kind of felt more boring to me than this does.
Right.
But I'm a Nintendo fan. I like really, really colorful, really, really vibrant games.
I guess, like, for me, I'm not turned off by what I see. I like what I see. I think it looks really, like I said, I think it looks beautiful, right? I like the variety in the environments. I like the personality we've seen from some of the ghosts. I like the puzzles. I like the interactivity of the environment. I like some of the multiplayer modes we've seen. They look really good. It looks like a very fun game. But it's definitely, from what I've seen, not invoking, like, fear. That is not the feel I get from this. And I understand it's kind of like a weird balance because it's meant to be played by younger people as well, right? But the original Luigi's Mansion, I feel like it pulled it off, right? Where it was a game that kids could play, but it was still spooky. And heck, I haven't played the game. Maybe when I play the game, there will still be some of that, right? I don't know, but simply basing that off of the aesthetics, it's not as dark as I would have wanted because I'm a fan of the original Luigi's Mansion. But forgetting that, I still love how the game looks, and when I play the game, I may find that it still has that spooky atmosphere despite the more beautiful environment, right? Like, colors are pretty.
I was actually more a fan of Dark Moon's aesthetic, and I know that's a very controversial thing, but I always preferred when it came out, I preferred Dark Moon's environments. I didn't prefer the level-based crap. I thought that was dumb. I think the flow of the environment is a lot better in the original. How it's all one, mansion, one explorable level, which essentially is maintained in Luigi's Mansion 3 to a degree. But I thought the environments and the variety of environments was much better in Dark Moon, and I preferred that, so I like that they're doing that for this one.
Yeah, no, I'm very interested in the game. I think that it's going to be a good game. And my only question is it going to scare me? Find out. Soon. Really soon. It'll be a fun game to play on Halloween for sure. That's going to be a fun Halloween. But just going back to the chat, though. Alexander, what about a new Nintendo Direct this year? Will we see it? Besides Breath of the Wild sequel and Animal Crossing, we don't know anything for 2020 yet. We know No More Heroes is coming next year. There's a Doom Eternal game going to Switch later in the year.
I feel like we know of a few more 2020 games than that.
There's a few more, like Secret of Mana, right? I think that's coming out next year. I think so.
I'd have to double check that.
And we haven't heard about the Panzer Dragoon game. I thought that was supposed to come out this year, but I haven't heard about it.
I think that is supposed to come out this year, but they haven't announced their official release date. Maybe it got delayed.
Maybe. Will there be another Nintendo Direct though? I'm gonna. There might be a Pokemon Direct. I don't even think so. Because here's the thing: at the point we're at now, Little Town Heroes can come out this week, right? And then Ring Fit Adventure, and then there's like a week between that and Luigi's Mansion, right? Terry's gonna come out next week, and there's gonna be a Terry Bogard presentation, and then there's gonna be the hype train for Pokemon Sword and Shield, and then after that, just be a couple weeks before the Game Awards, at which point there'll be there'll probably be an announcement or two. My speculation is the final Smash character and a Zelda trailer, right? And then we're already in January. In January, I could see a Nintendo Direct, actually. I can see it.
I don't see a need for a Nintendo Direct before the end of the year. I could see a Pokemon Direct because there's a lot of things we don't know, but they could also just reveal the trailers and be just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean towards not having one. I mean, they could, I guess. I don't see why they would, though.
Yeah. I'm not expecting one.
No.
Yeah. Really, all I'm looking forward to now in terms of, like, announcements, right, like, events for Nintendo is the Game Awards and the Terry presentation. Everything else is just game releases. And, obviously news will come out between now and then, but I don't see any, like, conferences or directs that I think are going to get major news. I mean, there's a Tokyo game. That already happened? Yeah, it usually happens in September, right? So there's nothing. Nothing major that comes to mind, at least. But, yeah. Terry Siverton, I'd like to see a new F-Zero game. Me too. It should happen someday. Will that someday be on Switch? Fingers crossed. A TMNT revival would be cool, Alexander.
I remember playing TMNT on my DS Lite. It's a good game.
I have not seen El Camino yet. It's like a sequel movie to Breaking Bad on Netflix. I haven't seen it. Kickman, variety is nice, and having everything happen in one mansion is the real kicker for me. Dark Moon's many mansions felt small.
Yeah.
Right, and I think compared to Dark Moon, at least, Luigi's Mansion 3 is definitely in a step in the right direction. There's a lot more personality of the ghosts. It's a more focused area, but still with a lot of variety, right? And it looks like they're taking the puzzles and the interactivity to a whole other level. And the multiplayer seems really strong. So there's a lot to be excited about for Luigi's Mansion 3. I don't really want to harp on the point that it doesn't seem to be that spooky, because it doesn't necessarily need to be. But I do like your comparison, Brandon, that it maybe could be kind of like Scooby-Doo. So I'm okay with that. Scooby-Doo's pretty cool. Brandon Striker saying that El Camino was good. I have not seen it yet, so I don't know. But
I haven't seen Breaking Bad either.
You should watch Breaking Bad.
I've heard it's really good. I want to watch it. I just
one of the
kind of to it.
better television shows that have been made. Really strong. Terry's saying he thinks we'll get a Nintendo Direct in November. If that happens, that'd be cool. It could. It's not like there can't be one. It's just kind of like I don't think we need one. Right? We don't need one. We'll need one in January if nothing happens.
Yeah. January seems like the point when we'll actually, get around to needing more information. Right now, we're good.
Right. But let's move on with the topics. Right? How far are we? Okay, we're an hour and a half in, and we still have some big stuff to talk about. So definitely should move on. Fortnite and Smash craziness. So I'm combining a couple things here. There's a Smash League coming out. It involves Jonesy, like the default character in Fortnite. And it's somewhat credible, apparently. Somewhat. Doesn't mean I believe it. But we'll talk about that. But first, I want to talk a little bit about just Fortnite, actually. Like, I actually play Fortnite. Don't hate me. Don't unsubscribe. Don't dislike. Don't flag my channel. I think it's good. But apparently, can't play Fortnite right now. I actually tried to play yesterday, and my lobby just like warped into a black hole, and I was like, oh crap, I can't play Fortnite. And I just waited for like 5 minutes, like staring at a black hole. Like, all right, so nothing's gonna happen here. Yeah, there was a legitimate question, like, is this like legit? Like, is this planned or is this a glitch? Like, there's no way it was a glitch. Like, my one thought was like, oh, maybe someone finally hacked Fortnite, maybe. But it's just a publicity stunt. I think what's really happening, we pretty much know for a fact already. What's happening is that they are getting Chapter 2 ready, which is, I guess, like kind of like a sequel to Fortnite, right? It looks like it's going to be a new map. There's like a trailer that's been leaked already. We can kind of see some cool stuff. Like, you can go underwater, you can do fishing. The environment is completely new. There's new vehicles.
I saw a speedboat.
I saw Pogo Stick Llamas, new guns.
I want them to bring planes back, please.
Planes were cool. I was really. I actually. I don't know if you got to play, but the balls are really fun. I mean, I'm interested in it because the seasonal changes, they're neat, and it brings me back to play a little bit. But really, I need like a big change for me to maybe get more invested into it. And just kind of seeing the trailer just kind of reminded me when I first started to play it. Like, I actually have some nostalgia for Fortnite. I know. Kill me now. Yeah. But when I first started Fortnite, it was like, oh, this is big open area. We can play online with 100 people. That's really cool to me, right? And because I didn't get in on the PUBG craze because I didn't have an Xbox, right? And I guess I didn't game too much on my PC at the time. I still don't game too much on my PC. I just kind of use it just for editing, really. But yeah, it's kind of cool. I'm kind of looking forward to it. But it's been down. Like, they're just using this black hole as a. We're actually doing maintenance, but we're not going to tell you. We're going to let you sort of speculate and just watch us. Right. It's kind of like the Galarian Ponyta sort of ecology report, right? Where they just have people watching basically nothing for more than a day, right? The ecology report from Pokemon was 24 hours. This black hole thing actually happens in your game, right? And it's been going on for over 24 hours. It's looking like it's going to be basically 2 days, right? Ninja said he would provide a tease if he got enough likes. He did. He put out a video saying, tacos. Tomorrow's Tuesday, Taco Tuesday, so I think tomorrow, Tuesday, it'll go live, which makes sense. They can't go... How many days could they go without having their game available, right? Like, I thought a day would be enough, but no. Gone beyond a day. I think by tomorrow it'll make sense, and their new map will be ready. So, there's that. Are you gonna play it?
Probably. I'll probably play it. My thing about Fortnite is I just got over the building. The building really annoys me. That's the problem. I think mainly for me. I just suck at the building. I'm just not good at the game. I think it's fun when we play together, so I'll probably.
We haven't played in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I want to get a good squad together. Actually, do some damage. Cool.
And I like it when they change the map. I feel like they haven't changed it enough each season since season 5.
I don't know how much you've played, but they have like when it first started, it was like basically like an all green map, now there's like biomes. Like there's an entire winter area. There's a desert area. There's a volcano area. Right. There's like a giant skeleton dragon. It looks kind of like one of the giant skeleton dragons in Breath of the Wild.
I've not seen that.
Yeah, there's some cool little areas. And they had like the final season had like these orb towns where these different towns would have different effects. Like one town had zombies, another one would fill up your shield, another one dropped like shooting stars you can get items from. So they did try and mix it up, but I feel like they need like a real big refresh because it's not stale, but for some people it is stale.
Season 6 and Season 7 are what killed me on that game. They didn't change it enough. Now Season 8, 9, 10 were a lot better, but I just couldn't get back into it. My other thing is that the game feels very random. I mean, there's a lot of competitive scenes for it, like with people like Ninja, but the game doesn't feel like a competitive game. It feels like a bunch of random crap happens and gets you killed for no reason. Or, like, Bloom also sucks. Building's annoying. It just doesn't feel as competitive as something like, what's that other one that came
Apex?
out? Apex Legends feels a lot more competitive. I like that game a lot more.
Yeah. We've played that. I enjoyed that one too. I like both of them. I like Fortnite because it offers a lot of variety. Right.
Fortnite's more just for fun.
And they really change. And to be honest, I haven't played Apex as much. I haven't played it lately, so maybe they've done a lot with that. But they definitely kind of piggyback off each other with ideas for sure.
Right.
The reason I combine the Fortnite and Smash topics is because there is a legit Smash leak that's being talked about. It might be true. I'm not sure I believe it, but there's a Smash leak that is actually potentially true that involves Jonesy, a Fortnite character in Smash Brothers. So, should we check in with the chat before we jump into this, or
sure,
just run things by the chat real quick? Real quick. Quake for Smash confirmed. Real quick. Let's see here. Hello there, Mastermind. Shifty's still here. Yeah, Fortnite might be relevant, maybe. Yeah, Shadow of Nexus, please, no one, don't flag my channel for talking about Fortnite. Sinus Joe, as soon as I saw that black hole, I knew there'd be a Smash logo meme. Billbeard fears the Fortnite, yeah. Briefing Golem is saying this has been confirmed fake. Has it? I'd like to see the proof. And I'm not sorry. Don't be sorry. I don't want it to be real. I don't want it to be real. Yeah. But yeah, if you could provide information as to why it's fake, by all means, please share it with me. I would like to see that. Terry Siverson, I don't believe any leaks from 4chan at all, and I believe that Gino will be the first DLC fighter after the Fires Pass. I also believe that at the Game Awards we'll get more info on Bayonetta 3. Maybe. Bayonetta 3 has been in the works. I think 2020 is the time for maybe it to come out. Alexander Christopher Hernandez, are you guys planning to buy Ring Fit Adventure? If so, can you make a stream where you challenge into who can complete the main story first, technically a speed run? I don't know about that. I don't know if we'll do that, but I do plan on getting Ring Fit Adventure, and I am thinking about doing something with that. Like I might like document like a fitness challenge maybe. If Brandon and I can see an opportunity where we can kind of collab and make it fun, we might try. But the thing is, like with Let's Plays, like even if you're interested, YouTube might not even suggest it to you. Like you won't even see it. Like people won't watch it. It's just kind of hard, and we'll see. But I'm definitely gonna do something with Ring Fit Adventure. So stay tuned. Name loading. I swear, if we get a Fortnite character before Minecraft. I don't know, man. I haven't gone over the leak yet. Briefing Golem. The evidence of the Piranha Plant Facebook post was used a few days ago for a different leak that says otherwise. Oh, great. Okay, that's cool. Obviously, you know, I can't be to look at your comments like, oh, for sure that's true, but that makes sense. And it's pretty much kind of be a similar conclusion that I'm gonna have when I talk about it. Shadow Nexus 4chan has had 100% correct leaks before. Leaks are sometimes true, but also most of the time are fake. Alexander Christopher Hernandez, the leak is fake. The leaker has no proof that they were part of the group that knew Piranha Plant was going to be in, but all the predictions they made after the DLC have been wrong. And I mean, that seems strong enough right there. Grief and Gloom, the exact same Facebook post was used to say the next character was Ryu Hayabusa, and then Gino, and this Jonesy leak weighs the next character. The Gino leak is big. Yeah. Let me see. Rage, would not mind Jonesy. He looks fun to play Fortnite. Add the game sucks. I'm not sure. You saying it looks fun, play Fortnite, and the game sucks. Oh, you're saying and? Okay, would not mind Jonesy. He looks fun, playing Fortnite, and the game sucks. Okay, okay. Yeah, that's okay. You don't have to like the game. Sign a show, so it's not deconfirmed. I don't know. Mastermind Atomy. Okay, I might be wrong about this, but what if Agnes gets in? Square just recently celebrated Bravely Default 7-year anniversary. May not mean much, but it's a sign of things to come. Shifty. Yeah, the credible person is a friend of mine. However, the 4chan thing is entirely fake and someone impersonating them. Ah. Gosh. Okay. There you go. Grief and Gloom. The other leak says the Facebook person is their friend, while this 4chan leak is not saying they are that person, so it's literal he said, she said situation about a Facebook post at either party. We'd have no true connection to this post. So yeah, let me go over the leak. I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying, okay? I don't believe this leak, but we'll just briefly talk about it. So, in fact, really all I'm going to do is point out why I just think it's fake. That's pretty much it. Without any of the proof that you guys offered. Let me see here. Maybe. Yeah, okay. So, pull this up. Is it, Brian, let me know if this is legible on the stream. I'm making, zoom in a little.
There you go. That's better. I have it on this other small kind of crap.
Gotcha.
Here,
so, alright, so this, I believe, is fake, right? But, I'm just gonna read it out real quick. Hello 4chan, I really don't know who to tell this, but I have information on Smash Ultimate. This is my first time leaking anything. See the first reply to this post. First of all, Gino is leak bait. He's being used to find out who is leaking to people. Alright, so the fifth fighter in the past is Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden, and should be revealed at the Game Awards. That might be the case. We've seen some credible leakers suggest Ryu Hayabusa is going to be in the game, so we thought it'd be the fourth character, but it being the fifth character isn't really that big of a change. So that's kind of like, okay, maybe. The first out of the pass, beyond the Fighters Pass, is Jonesy from Fortnite. He should be announced around February 2020. He has a female costume that I think was called Ramirez or something similar to it. The second, I understand people make mistakes, but like whenever I just see like common grammatical errors, I feel like the credibility goes down a little bit, right? He said Scound, but it's the second out of the past fighter is Claire Redfield from Resident Evil. Should be revealed around summer 2020. The third is Maxwell from Scribblenauts, also spelling Scribblenauts wrong. He works kind of like Hero with all the special attacks. Okay. And last but not least is Chosen Undead from Dark Souls. He has a Solar alt, it looks like, but it might be an Echo instead. I don't know when they plan to show him off. And then he has like, oh, you believe me, I have proof because supposedly he can link a Facebook image and say that he's the one who said Piranha Plant is coming on November 1st, which I think was like a day before the Smash Direct where Piranha Plant was revealed. So, a few things. One, right, I'm gonna derail this, even though I know you guys already have proof apparently, but I'm just saying from my perspective before any of this information comes out. One, other people knew about the Piranha Plant thing, so just because he's talked about it does not mean that it's right? He's just one of the few people that's like, oh my god, this could be true, this is gonna be really cool. Secondly, we don't know what the relation of this person is to this person in the leaker. Like, he could have just linked something he saw, right? There's nothing holding him back from what I understand, right? Brandon, if you see any holes, by all means, point it out to me.
Right.
But do you agree with me there, though? Like,
yeah,
he could have just said, oh, that was me who said that. There's nothing. So. There's nothing that's stopping him from doing that. It's not actual proof. Right?
I don't know the intricacies of 4chan. But
not to mention, if that's his sole proof, right? Like, that's not a lot of proof. That's one character you got right. That is not a lot of proof. Like, you know, I don't believe a leak when it gets one thing right. You start to believe a leak when it gets several things right in a row, right? because that increases its likelihood of it being real. Getting one thing right means nothing. Just from this, I'm just saying this from this post. Maybe he has a history where there's more, but apparently you guys are saying he's got other things wrong, so there's that too.
In the beginning of it, he says this is his first time leaking anything, but then he links a thing saying that he leaked Piranha Plant, which doesn't make any sense.
Where does he say it's his first time leaking? Hello 4chan, I don't really know. Where?
This is my Oh, okay. Hold on. It says this isn't. It's hard for me to read.
Oh,
okay. Sorry. I got confused.
Should I zoom in more, or just?
No. I'm just dumb.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Okay. I thought it said it is his first time, and I'm like...
Right. So here's another reason why I think this leak has to be fake, even regardless of everything else that's been said. There's no way you know about this so much so early on. There's no way, okay? They're not that far into development where we know we can start talking about alt skins for the 4th or 5th character down the line. Like, there's just no way. I don't see that. Right?
It just seemed a little far-fetched.
And knowing about the mechanics for Scribblenauts as well. Also, Claire Redfield. I mean, maybe, but
There's a lot of weird picks here.
I think
I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it's fake, because there's a lot of weird picks in the current roster. But,
also, the idea of Jonesy from Fortnite is just... No.
That's worse than Minecraft Steve, man. That's worse.
It is.
It's worse.
It really is.
It's so much worse.
It really is. Yeah. I just no.
Scribblenauts could be cool. Like, I'm not against that, but it's also a weird pick.
Like, and also Claire Redfield. Like, really, not Jill Valentine or Leanna's Kennedy.
Right. It's like that's the thing. Like, there's some weird picks for the franchises that are represented in Smash.
Yeah.
But not the character from that franchise. You know? It's like the character from that franchise makes sense, but the franchises themselves are a little strange. This is just weird for the character. Why would you pick that character out of all the Resident Evil characters?
Right, like,
why would you pick that one?
Like, obviously Terry made sense for Fatal Fury, right? And King of Fighters, obviously, right? Claire Redfield, no. Like, and there's also, like, barely any Nintendo love here. Like, there's gotta be something that Nintendo fans would be like, yeah, right? It doesn't feel very... Now, I'm not saying... The future could all be third-party characters, but, you know, if you're gonna do this, give us Leanna S. Kennedy from Resident Evil, you know? Like...
Yeah. I also don't feel like Scribblenauts is really...
And there's only been one Dark Souls game on Switch, and I would like a Dark Souls character, but that just...
Dark Souls character makes sense, like, even though there hasn't been
Scribblenauts character also is not, I guess, too...
That one doesn't make sense to me, just because the franchise itself is so... Small. It's not... Like, it's cool, but it never
I'd
really
rather
had
get,
an
like,
impact.
elite beat agents instead.
Elite beat agents?
Yeah, elite beat
That could
agents.
actually be cool. I know there's a lot of people
but that...
on Twitter who want that.
So, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. That's just way too much to talk about. And apparently, he's been just posing as someone else. So, there you go. This leak is fake. Yeah. Don't worry about it, guys. But, you know, a lot of people are starting to believe it. So, yeah. See what the chat is saying, though. Let me see here. Where are we now? A lot of things are said, so I'm just trying to see. Science Joe, I would love to see Maxwell, though. Yeah, it'd be cool. Gryffindor, I'm not saying that you are lying or your friend is Shifty, but I really don't think Ryu Hayabusa is the next character. He's speaking with Shifty, because Shifty has had sources that have suggested Ryu Hayabusa. Right. Child next is, why the heck would Maxwell be in? He's pretty much irrelevant when it comes to this generation. Kind of to the point Brandon was speaking to. Shifty response to Griffin Golem, that's fine, you can have your own opinion, sources are never 100% after all. Exactly. But as we were talking about earlier, you never know what's going to happen with until something's officially confirmed, even if when sources are 100% legitimate, plans change, sometimes things are lost in translation. There's so many possibilities, you know, you always have to take it with a grain of salt until it's officially confirmed. Planet Joe, relevance barely matters. Yes and no. You're gonna speak to that, right?
Relevancy for the modern day doesn't necessarily matter, but every character in Smash was relevant at a certain point in time, or has had history with Nintendo, or made some kind of impact that makes
There
sense.
is a group of people who would love this character to be in the game, right?
Mhm.
So that's one of the issues, I guess, some people are saying about Terry Bogard, that not too many people know about him, but there is a lot of people who want Terry Bogard. Now, maybe
Right.
it's not a very, like, United States sort of fan base with that, right? But there's definitely a lot of people who love that, especially if they have a history playing fighting games, right? Or if you're from Latin America. Like, there is still a huge fan base for that character. Scribblenauts, I'm not saying there wouldn't be. I don't know. It just Scribblenauts isn't like Fatal Fury King of Fighters. Like, it's different. Like, it's not as, it doesn't have as much historical importance, right? Not that it couldn't be cool. So I feel like you either gotta have like historical, I don't know, because Joker is like more of a recent thing.
But he
he has a huge
recent
following.
relevancy.
He has a huge following.
He's relevant now.
Yeah.
You either have to have, in my mind, from what we've seen, you gotta have modern relevancy,
Or
historical relevancy,
the ors are important. It's not and, it's
Right.
or Right.
historical relevancy,
be a Nintendo character.
Right, be a Nintendo character. So you need to have modern relevancy or historical relevancy, or be a very Nintendo character.
Right, and with
A
this
character
DLC
that's had history with
so far we haven't seen too many Nintendo characters. The closest one is Banjo, who's not a Nintendo character, right?
Mhm. But he has Nintendo history.
He has
A lot of
Nintendo history.
history.
Nintendo history, and he has historical relevance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We haven't seen. I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't think of any characters in Smash that don't have either modern relevancy, historical relevancy, or Nintendo history. Can't think of a single one.
Wario.
He's a Nintendo character.
No, he's not. Yeah, he is. If someone can come up with an example that doesn't fit within one of those three categories, that would be interesting to see.
Mhm.
Child Nix is also, why would Claire be in instead of Leon? Yeah, I just think that would be weird.
Yes.
Like, not even Jill or Leon. That'd just be weird. Hey there, Chris. How you doing? Cool. If you watch replay, that would be awesome, man. Roofing Golem says he has proof the 4chan leak is fake. I'll show it on Discord. Shifty's saying, yeah, the 4chan post specifically isn't even the same person. I mean, yeah, if you guys... And let me... I'll see if you post it on Discord. I'll see if I can show it on the chat. I have to check. Okay. Yeah, I'll just put this over here real quick so you guys can see. This is what we're referring to? Who is impersonating me on 4chan without promoting Roxy or the game? So, okay, well, there you got someone from Facebook saying, that is not me. All right, cool. Cool. So, I mean, there you go. Probably.
They're not very happy about somebody impersonating them.
Yeah. I post a link to his tweet of the Facebook profile to prove it. Okay. Yeah, I saw the image of it. I definitely believe you guys. Shout out next. It's possible for them to know this in advance. Someone gave me inside info, told me almost a year before it actually happened. What? Are you saying that it's possible that someone can know about all of that a year in advance? It's possible for them to know this in advance. Someone gave me inside info, told me almost a year before it finally actually happened.
So they're saying they got some information on something that was a long
Well, okay. I don't know what it is that you heard that was verified, but my point is that that's a lot of information about the characters and potential alts and abilities way in advance when we know they're in development. That's a lot. And a lot of those that's a lot to be decided in advance, right?
Right.
So, and what we've seen with a lot of the Smash leaks. Now, like I said, like there are some things that even I've heard in advance, like at least half a year in advance, they became true. For example, Breath of the Wild 2 at E3. I heard about that like half a year in advance, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's one thing. So there's that. And I also heard about the I didn't know it was Star Fox, but I knew something big for Nintendo fans would happen at Ubisoft's conference when the whole Star Fox Starlink thing would happen. Like I heard about some things in advance. Like I seen that, but with Smash, hearing about each of these characters in advance, it just doesn't seem really likely to me, especially considering each character that we've heard that get revealed, like it's at least with a DLC, like when the leaks come out, it's like a day or two before they're actually revealed. Right? Like there isn't no one's shown any valid proof of knowing about all of these DLC characters way in advance. Right? Like this, it would have to come from like really high up, I guess. So it just makes me really skeptical because we haven't seen an example of that beforehand.
Yeah, all the Smash stuff. Typically, the more when you see a leak, typically the more detail it has and the more like different points, the less likely I am to believe it, because the information seems like too much for them to know.
Also, really, the Smash stuff is just really trolly.
Yeah.
Jonesy, come on.
Yeah,
come on.
A little weird.
Yeah. Where are we now in the chat? Because a fair bit of things are said, so it's hard for me to keep up. Like where, I don't know. There's a lot going on here. Got a lot of people watching. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I just wanted. I don't. Where are we in chat? I'm gonna have to skip some people's questions if there's a lot to check here, but let me see. I'm gonna start scrolling down. If you guys want me to address something specifically, if you at me, it's easier for me to, you know, read it and answer it. Let me see here. Job Nexusaur is more likely than Maxwell. Maybe. Yeah, I would agree with that. It kind of fits within Brandon's 3 different categories, like recent popularity, historical like importance, or Nintendo importance. Ray J, I'm hyped that Terry is in Smash Ultimate. I love the SNK games. There you go. So an example of someone who's really hyped for Terry. I think Terry looks cool. I'm not a big fan of those games. I've played them before, like a long time ago, but I'm a fan of the design at least. Mastermind, I found it weird that Joker got in because Persona 5, the actual game, isn't on the Switch, but hey, Cloud got in because it took a couple years to have Final 7 on a Nintendo console. That's just me. No, I agree with you. It's weird. It is definitely weird, but there is at least a spin-off game coming to Switch, and it doesn't mean Persona 5 can't come in the future. Terry saying, I could see Maxwell getting in as a Mii costume. That makes sense to me. I can see a Mii costume happening, for sure. Yeah. Definitely, I see that. Grief and Golem, this is honestly the shortest lived leak I've ever seen. Like, I saw the leak, like, right before the podcast. Right, and now I guess it's basically deconfirmed. Oh, what? Has a Sonic... What? Are you... Sabbath64 is saying, have you guys seen the new Sonic design for the movie?
They came out with that finally?
What?
When?
When?
When was this?
Is it like now?
Why is this not trending?
Don't be trolling me here.
Is this trending on Twitter?
New Sonic movie design.
I feel like it should be trending on Twitter if it's real.
I don't know. I don't see anything. 2 hours ago, Sonic the movie leaked redesign.
Oh,
okay. Okay.
Sonic 3 months ago?
Okay, is this legit? It has a lot of likes. Okay, alright, I will, there's like a video here. I'm not gonna... I mean, I guess I could... Shouldn't... Don't want to, like, make noise. This is... I'll show you this person's YouTube channel so you guys can check it out, but... Okay, that looks good. It's apparently the leak right here. I put it on the stream. Obviously not the best way to look at it, but... That looks good. I like how that looks. It's better. It's definitely better.
A lot better. He has gloves. That makes sense.
His eyes are... It looks more like Sonic.
Yeah, he looks like Sonic.
Alright. That looks cool, man. I definitely think that's an improvement. And this guy, 3C Films. So, if you want to see the full video, check it out. 3C Films.
Assuming that is real, that looks a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So where are we here with the chat? Griffin Golem. Also, with Joker, you have to remember that Persona 5 went against both Odyssey and Breath of the Wild for Game of the Year. It was a big, popular game, so that, you know, there is that to consider, for sure. Oh, that'd be interesting. Ray J said, "Don't kill me, Spyro fans. I could see Crash Final Smash riding on Spyro on a cutscene. That would be really funny to see. I don't know if that would happen, but that'd be really fun to see."
Yeah, I feel like that wouldn't happen, but it'd be weird.
Yeah. But let's move on to the final topic for the night. Not a small one, so probably why we should move on to it now, because there's only so much time in the day. But next gen talk, right? That figured I'd call it next gen talk because this can go in many different directions. Guys, again, because there's a few people, well, a fair bit watching now, which is really cool. If you have any particular questions or points you want me to address at me, it's easier for me to get to it. But anyway, the reason we're talking about next gen talk is because, like, early last week, we got news of PlayStation 5. I don't remember all the details off the top of my head, but basically, PS5, that's the official name. It's coming out next year, 2020, confirmed, right? The controller apparently will be a little bit heavy. It'll have haptics like feedback, basically HD Rumble, but they're not calling it HD Rumble. It's gonna have like an SSD in there, which will allow for a lot faster loading. Same thing with the Xbox Scarlet as well, which is also expected to come out next year. And they're probably both, I think they're both like are gonna focus a lot on ray tracing, which I don't understand too much of. If you could explain that to people, that'd be great, Brandon. And that's pretty much it off the top of my head. Anything else that comes to mind, Brandon?
The PlayStation 5 controller, along with its own sort of HD Rumble, which is, I believe, works differently than the HD Rumble in the Switch, but I'm not sure exactly how. In the triggers themselves have haptic feedback. So, they didn't explain it very well exactly how it worked, but
I can imagine if like you're shooting a gun, you use like a trigger as like additional feedback, so you feel like you're actually shooting a gun a little bit.
Right. From what I understand, it's either the pressure it takes to push the trigger is changed, or the trigger pushes back against your finger, or maybe both. But I couldn't tell. That's typically how haptics work. Like if you buy like a racing wheel and it has haptics, it will push back against you as you try to steer it. So I assumed that it would push back against your finger, but I also heard different things about how it would take harder amounts of pressure to push. So I'm not exactly sure how that works. It might be both of those things. It might be one or the other. Either way, it has some sort of haptic feedback.
Right.
In the trigger.
We'll have to kind of like, I guess, actually see it in motion or feel it in motion to really understand it. Someone will have to, and we'll have to hear about it, at least. But yeah, so there wasn't much debate about it, but both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Scarlet are probably almost certainly coming out next year, provided there are no delays, right?
I believe, they're both confirmed for holiday 2020, but we're not sure exactly when.
So
in that holiday,
I am planning a video on this. I'll go into more detail on it when that video comes out this week, probably. But where does this place Nintendo? Should we expect a next generation Nintendo system soon, or will Nintendo simply find a way to sort of stay afloat in the meanwhile? Does it matter at all? Will Nintendo change their strategy? I have my own personal ideas on it. What do you think, Brandon?
I think
we're all doomed.
Doomed.
We're all doomed. Nintendo doomed.
Just dead.
Yeah.
None of this new information really changes my opinion on the next generation of Nintendo consoles. I think they'll be fine for a while. My only concern is about things we already knew, things like the CPU, because there's going to be a lot more physics going on, I'm sure, in the next gen, and you can't really scale that down. I mean, you could be like, there's less gameplay in a Switch version of a game, There's less destruction. There's less AI. There's, you know, something like that. But you can't really do what they've been doing now, where they just tone the graphics and it's the same game. You'd have to change how the game is, and it'd be a lesser gameplay experience. So that's what I'm worried about. But I'm assuming not every game is going to be, you know, like that. Not every game's going to push the CPU.
I mean,
as hard
like,
as
we
possible.
already have situations where there are big games that aren't coming to Switch, like Cyberpunk 77, for example, right?
Mhm.
Now, they did say that they might bring Cyberpunk 77 to Switch, but they said probably not recently, right? Like,
Right.
because they would have to test it out, see how it works, but it's the same team, CD Projekt Red, you know, they working on that game, but Witcher 3 just came out on Switch, which apparently, you know, is running fairly well on the Switch. People are actually impressed.
Yeah, it seems to hold 30 FPS really well, except in towns apparently, but that's also the same on the base PS4 and Xbox One. It runs in like the mid 20s in towns, and in the, I think it's called Crook something Bog, that place also runs really well. Everywhere it drops in the PS4 and Xbox One, it drops in the Switch too. Everywhere else, smooth 30.
Yeah, so I mean, there are AAA games that still come to Switch, but it's kind of like they usually come a little bit later, right?
Mhm.
Like even I believe Doom Eternal is no longer going to be a day and date release for the
Yes.
Switch, but part of that I think makes sense because right now Doom Eternal is slated to come out March 20 in 2020,
Yeah,
which
it
is the
comes
same
with
day as Animal
same
Crossing.
day as Animal Crossing.
So having it come out later on Switch kind of makes sense for that reason,
Mhm.
because that would probably impact sales. So I guess
Right.
they'll have like a second wind on Switch, which is what I think a lot of developers have kind of liked with Switch. Like it gives them the second wind with their games, so they can still pull that off. So it's a little disappointing to not see a major AAA game come out day and date when we thought it would.
Yeah,
But
I have a feeling that that's more because of the delay and less about marketing, but I think the marketing is also convenient. Like, I doubt they would delay it just simply.
well, it's easier for them to
that.
focus on the other platforms and then get Switch out a little bit later.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's easier for them just to do that. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but it doesn't mean that Bethesda's delivering a poor product on Switch. I think they've actually done a pretty good job with Switch. So
Yeah.
there's that to consider. But, you know, I just think, yeah, I'm not really worried about the Switch when it comes to next generation systems, especially if you look at what happened with PS4 and Xbox One, or rather, I should say PS3 and 360. Those systems were still relevant going into the generations for PS4 and Xbox One, right? They shared a lot of games for at least a year, right? So you have the rest of this year, you have next year, and then you have at least one more year where games being made for PS4 and Xbox One are happening, so Switch could still conceivably get those games, right?
Right.
So at which
I am
point,
kind of worried about the quality of them because already we're seeing games on the base Xbox One just running terribly and looking bad.
Mhm.
So they're not really worried about the quality of the ports. They're just like, it runs, I guess. It's
but you also
available.
the thing is the Switch is selling really well, and games sell really well on Switch. I think developers care more about getting games on Switch, right? Now the Switch Lite has come out, sales are going to explode, especially with Pokemon and the Switch Lite, and then Animal Crossing early next year. Sales are going to really explode really soon, especially. I mean, the especially is already there with Pokemon, Switch Lite, and Animal Crossing. That combo right there is just gonna, by the end of the fiscal year, which is all these games, all of that will be out by the end of fiscal year, right? Animal Crossing comes out right at the end. Switch is gonna have a lot more systems out there. But
Oh yeah.
come holiday season, they could have some price drops, some bundles. There is a now increasingly more prevalent belief amongst different gaming journalists and YouTubers that Breath of the Wild 2 will come out holiday 2020. As you and I both said when we first saw the game at E3, it's like, we literally said it in our reactions, 2020, totally happening, right? Some people disagree, obviously still not confirmed, may still not happen, but a lot more people are starting to buy into it because it makes sense from a business perspective as well. Because if PlayStation 5 and Xbox Scarlet are coming out, how is Nintendo going to compete with that? With games. I think, yeah, games, right? So Breath of the Wild 2 is the big one. There's a couple other possibilities as well. I've speculated that Mario Odyssey 2 could be around the corner, right? I do not expect Metroid Prime 4, unfortunately, for next year. I'm hoping for a tease next year at E3. Hoping for a tease. That's all I'm hoping for, and that might still not happen, right? But I think Breath of the Wild 2 is a pretty good shot. They need something big to compete against this, and it ain't Bayonetta 3, right? Just putting that out. It ain't Bayonetta 3. So, I think Zelda probably is it. What it has to sort of be its combat partner is hard to say. I think Mario and Zelda would be a good 1-2 punch to compete against the next generation systems. One other possibility is a Switch Pro. There's been some evidence suggesting that could still happen, right? Like we know that there's, as I guess, work being done on the screen for Switches, and the new Switch revision and the Switch Lite do not have it. So maybe that screen is going towards the Switch Pro, right? We've heard about that. So that could be the case. Screen or not, I've kind of thought that a Switch Pro, the third year for the Switch, makes sense.
A Switch Pro just makes so much sense. From a technological and business perspective, there's just so much unused potential in the Tegra line. And it's not even, you don't even have to go all the way up to the newest super expensive chips. Just the mid-range ones that they've been coming out with are so much better than what's in the Switch. There's just so much you can make a Switch Pro, and it's just so much better than the Switch, and it wouldn't even be like breaking the bank. It would honestly be confusing to me if they didn't do that, because I feel like there's a big demand for it. There's a lot of people want it. The technology is definitely there at a reasonable price. I don't see why.
My issue though is, well, I want a Switch Pro, and I do think it's a pretty good chance. I've predicted it. Like I'm on the side of Switch Pro. I want it to happen, but I feel like a lot of times people talk about how because the next generation is coming, and games are going to be more reliant on better CPUs, better tech, right? That it'll be hard for the Switch to get some of those exclusives, or not exclusives, but those third-party multi-plats, right? That it makes sense to have a more powerful Switch to come out so they can get those games.
Right.
My problem with that is that if that happens, that also means that everyone with the current Switch and the Switch Lite will not get those games, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I just don't see the value in releasing a Switch Pro purely to get third-party exclusives, especially because even though there's an audience for Switch Pro, it's going to be the smallest of the three Switches that are going to sell. Like, there's going to be a certain amount of regular Switches that are sold, right? There's going to be a certain amount of Switches Lites that are sold, and they're going to sell a lot. Those are going to be the two that will sell the most. This Switch Pro is going to be kind of like the premium deluxe version that may sell a few million, right? If it gets to 10 million, I'll be surprised, right? So, like,
honestly,
I just don't
think
expect
the Switch Pro has the best chance of succeeding compared to like the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One, because people are already happy with how the PS4 and Xbox One look. People are not necessarily too happy about how
that's an interesting
games
point.
On Switch look. Like, people are hungry for
I get it.
a new upgrade. People were not hungry for an Xbox.
There is a market for a more, I guess a more proper home console experience that's still a hybrid, and a Switch Pro can offer that, right? Yeah. So I see it. It makes sense. I think, and to that point, maybe it will sell like over 10 million, the Switch Pro. That's possible, right? I think that's a good point, Brandon. There is more of a demand for a better performing Switch compared to what there was for Xbox One and PS4. So it's interesting. It gives me hope for that system. But either way, I think you'll still agree, though, that the regular Switch and the Switch Lite are still going to sell a lot more than the Switch Pro. So,
and I don't think the Switch Pro's purpose would be to get new third parties. I think that would be for a Switch 2 when the time comes in a few years, when games, when they've stopped supporting the PS4 and the Xbox One and they've fully moved on to the next generation. That's when Nintendo's got to worry about third-party support. They don't got to worry about it for a couple of years. So
at least
maybe
2
like
years.
2022, 2020.
And here's the other thing.
3 might be when they
Let's take third parties out of the equation. Like, Nintendo doesn't even need it, really. Like, considering the amount of indie support they have, right, and the amount of support they get from Japanese developers, and just their own games, which are now being focused on one platform, which is actually a lot, right? For most people, like, how many people will be able to buy every single Nintendo published game that comes out this year?
Very few.
It's been hard, like, just to get the Nintendo games that are coming out now. It's kind of hard to get all of them. So they're pretty good at they've kind of fixed the issues they used to have beforehand, because they had to split their games between 2 different platforms usually. Now it's just one. So if for whatever reason, worst case scenario occurs and Nintendo loses all third-party support, it's still going to be games, right? It's still going to be fine. But
I do think it would be a blow to them.
It would be a hit, but and that's the thing.
They would be fine, but I think it would leave a bad taste in consumers' mouths.
And I agree with you there.
The idea of Nintendo not having third-party support isn't even necessarily something that every fan would tap into fully, but it's the idea that that is a thing.
Right.
Even just the concept of that being there makes it more valuable.
Right. So just to put things into perspective, but I guess I don't want to say we're arguing, because you and I are like on the same side here. We're just talking about, right? But what we're talking about here isn't so much the threat of Switch losing and performing badly against next generation systems. It's more about them maintaining the decent third-party support that it has now, right? So, and I guess I think there is still some debate as to how competitive the Switch will be moving forward 2 or 3 years down the road, right? I think right now it's very comfortable, but once the next generation systems come out and they've been out for a little bit and they start getting games, then we'll have to start sort of questioning how successful the Switch can still be moving forward, right? Because we don't know exactly how long the Switch is going to be out for. It'd be easy to just assume that once it hits the 5-year window, then we move on to Switch 2, but we don't know that, especially because we've also heard that Nintendo wants this Switch family to last a fair bit longer than previous systems. But just kind of, going back to just the whole issue of third-party stuff, right? I think by the time the next generation systems start really pumping out games that aren't going to the previous systems, there are going to be so many Switches out there, and the Switch is going to be so relevant. It's going to be kind of weird for third-party developers to not put games on the Switch, right? Like, I would have to double-check, like, sales trends, right? But I have a hard time believing that a year into both the PS5 and Xbox Scarlet's life cycle that they'll have sold like over 20 million each, right? Like they'll both be under 20 million after the first year, probably, right? The Switch might be close to 100 million by that point. So it would just be weird for developers to not put games on the Switch, especially when games have shown to sell better on Switch than the other systems. So even if developers are moving forward with technology and they want to start developing, the best looking, best performing games on the newest technology for home consoles, there's still way more sales potential on the Switch 2 years from now, probably, right? Maybe even 2 years from now.
Third parties typically sell way better on Xbox One and PS4 though. Indie games are different, but third parties like
the big ones, like the big AAA ones.
Yeah, like the PS4 and Xbox One sales, it's not even close. Like the Switch sales, like it's good, it made them money, but it's not even close to their main market.
Okay, let's check in with the chat. Just kind of see what they're saying, then we'll come back. Shadow of Nexus. I'm just checking the ones that are ats. So Shadow of Nexus. There's a rumor floating around out there that the PS5 is on par with a RTX 2070 Super for graphics, which is a very powerful GPU almost. Brandon, English? No?
That's a mid-range of the modern, so mid-range of GPU. It's considerably better than what they have now. It's a lot better. It's 2-3 times more powerful on the GPU side. Than this current gen. The thing is, like, you can't just say
it's more than just a graphics
card. Yeah.
Right.
It's more than just the graphics card. It's
so what's ray tracing?
Ray tracing is lighting, essentially. Lighting and shadows. It emulates how the sun works rather than faking it.
So lighting will look a lot better.
Yes.
I'm just putting things in layman terms.
In the simplest terms, it's more accurate lighting, more accurate shadows. They have hardware that it's called hardware accelerated ray tracing. All that means is that there's actual GPU resources dedicated specifically to ray tracing instead of it just working on the normal GPU. It has a separate part that's just for ray tracing. That's all that means. Very simple.
Another cool thing is that since we know that these newer systems are going to focus on having SSDs, what that's going to enable is way faster loading.
yes, SSDs is going to be really good. I think it also has the potential to make file sizes go way down because, as I was talking about, I said I was going to mention it again, and I'll mention it now. The developers or the people who
They don't have to put it in two different places to read quickly.
Right.
They can put it in one place, it reads
old
quickly.
hard drives, old hard drives have a lot of different places where they put their data. It's very slow for it to move over to another section. So sometimes you need a specific amount of data. It's over here. Well, you're all the way over here, just to make it simple. You're at point A, it's all the way at point Z. It's really slow to get there. So they just put the same content at A through Z so that no matter where it is, it can get to it. They even said some of it was duplicated 500 times. Now, not everything is duplicated this much, just things that need to be accessed a lot. So something that is accessed constantly may be duplicated up to 500 times on the hard drive in different places. That way, when it's here, it can get it from here instead of having to go way over here.
Gotcha.
Since they're so slow, it doesn't have time to get over here. The game would stutter. It would just stop running.
That's like, cool.
I'm done.
So there probably will be less need to expand the amount of storage space you have with these systems.
There's less need for them to duplicate the same data over and over and over again because SSDs don't have this issue.
It's also one of the reasons why you find that a lot of big AAA games have such larger file sizes than Nintendo games, right? Because Nintendo they're not making their games for systems with hard drives.
Right. They use flash storage.
Yeah, so it's different. Yeah, makes sense.
It's not going to be what Nintendo has is not going to be nearly as fast as what they're going to put in here, but it has the same.
Right.
It's still much better than a hard drive, like way faster than the hard drives that are in the PS4 and the Xbox One.
Yeah. Terry Sivertson. The only way I see Minecraft Steve, Jonesy, and Maxwell getting in would be as Mii costumes. Only way, in my opinion. I don't even see that happening at this point for most of them. But if any of them get in, Mii costumes is the closest bet, in my opinion. I kind of agree with you. So, moving on. Terry added me again. I don't think that leaked redesign is official. I think it's just another fan mock-up. I'm not sure which redesign you're talking about. I don't know. Because I don't remember talking about any... What leaked redesign did I talk about? I talked about the Switch revision, but that's real. That happened already.
Right, that's a thing.
Maybe I was misunderstood. If you file, just at me again, and I'll clarify what the question was or what I brought up that I don't remember. Briefing Golem. Something big just came out as Nintendo seems to not be supporting Blizzard. What do you mean? I don't know.
You mean that Overwatch is coming out?
Unless it just happened. A lot of things just happened during this podcast, apparently.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of nuts. So let me see. Actually, I see this question from... Well, not question, just point by Shadow of Nexus. If Switch Pro is on par with Xbox One S, that will be good enough, even though it probably won't be that powerful. Xbox One S. Is Xbox One S weaker than PS4? Like, where do we put Xbox One S compared to PS4? Because I know Xbox One's weaker than PS4. But where does Xbox One S go?
Is the most... Oh, the S? It's
S.
The S, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's...
S for
it's
Sally.
weaker than the PS4. The Xbox One S is just a slimmer Xbox One. It is, like, this much more powerful than the base Xbox One.
I'm not super tech savvy, but just from hearing other people talk about these things, I see a Switch Pro hitting Xbox One S level. I can see that.
I can see that.
I wouldn't be shocked if it was close to PS4 level, which I guess would be S level.
It's possible. And
just to be clear, because I feel like oftentimes this is somewhat confused, I do not think the Pro has any chance of getting close to PS4 Pro or Xbox One X. No. I'm talking about systems that came out in 2013. Right? I'm talking about the PS4 came out in 2013. I think a Switch Pro, a portable system that comes out 7 years later, could have a power level. This is a Dragon Ball Z close to
There is technology that would allow the Switch to be as powerful as the Xbox One, maybe in between that and the PS4, and have the same battery life as the Pro or as the Switch Revision.
So I think one thing people aren't taking into consideration for a Pro is that a Pro would be a premium system. Nintendo would be selling this for more than a regular Switch. Like, I'm thinking at least $400. I mean, I don't actually probably
Not at least,
not at
max.
least like not at least or max, like $400. Like that.
Right.
That's the price point.
Yeah.
Not 500, not 320, like 400 is where I see it. Maybe they do like a 3. I could see maybe like a 370, like a 369.99 perhaps, or like a 429.99. Maybe like
I don't see anything above 400.
it's a premium system. My belief is 400. I believe that if there is a Pro, which I think is fairly likely, I think when it's announced, it will have a price tag of $399.99.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I think that's what would happen. I think 200 for the light, 300 for the regular, 400 for the
right. And my point simply being is that if it's a premium system, they're going to sell it for more because they're going to use more expensive tech in there. Right. The point is for it to be more powerful, to be nicer. So they're not going to have as many cost-cutting measures. Like, so typically Nintendo has a lot of cost-cutting measures with their systems because they're trying to have a cheap price tag. Mm-hmm. They're not going to have as many cost-cutting measures because the point is for it to be a premium system.
Yeah.
In other words, my expectation of power is a little higher for a Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So apparently there's something going on Discord. Watch it all be in flames. Like literally my screen's just flipped.
Discord just over.
What? Oh, this is really weird.
Ah, I did see that.
I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it came out during the podcast. I just saw it like 5 seconds ago.
Ah. Crap. No, it's just I accidentally opened a link on Internet Explorer. And it opened 3 times. What the hell?
Essentially, there's just going to be a launch event at the Nintendo New York store on Wednesday, and then they were like, no, it's not happening. Blizzard canceled it. I mean, the game's still coming out, but they're not having the launch event at Nintendo New York store, so.
Gather your team and head to the Nintendo New York store Wednesday 10. This has happened on October 8th. Then they posted on this. This is verified. This is actually Nintendo. Please be aware.
Yep.
The previously announced Overwatch launch event scheduled for Wednesday, the 16th at Nintendo New York City has been canceled by Blizzard. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. Blizzard canceled it.
Yes.
What happened?
That is I don't know. I'm very confused. There was even plans to meet voice actors apparently from Overwatch.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. Blizzard's being dumb.
Will the Twitter chat assist me? No.
I think people are. Yeah, Blizzard's just being dumb lately, though.
Okay.
About a lot of things.
Maybe I found it. Breaking, effective immediately, Blizzard has removed Hong Kong Hearthstone player Blitzchung from Hearthstone Grandmasters, rescinded all his prize money, and have suspended him from pro play for 1 year for his recent interview. Okay.
They already said they're giving back his money. They're not suspending him for as long. But they're still suspending him because there's the whole Hong Kong, whatever political stuff that's going on there. He commented on it.
On further, we have found the action has violated 2019 Hearthstone Grandmasters official competition rules section. So he violated rules. I don't understand the story at all. So
he talked about some political thing that's happening in Hong Kong. I forget exactly. They're like
that's what happens whenever you talk about something political in another country, especially in China. You know. All right, but that doesn't mean Nintendo and Blizzard aren't going to work together anymore.
No.
Well, I mean, it's not good news.
No.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people are upset about Blizzard, or at Blizzard. So I'm wondering if they thought there was going to be some backlash or something, maybe at the event.
This is something I have to look more into to give a better opinion on.
That's the only thing I can think of, is that they thought maybe there would be like a riot or like backlash or some kind of something bad at the event.
Right.
A lot of people are pissed at Blizzard right now. So.
Yeah. Well, anyways, thanks
And
for that
there is
information
a
briefing.
big
Golem.
Overwatch boycott going on. So I've
Wow.
heard, or maybe that's not happening. I've heard that that's a thing. I don't actually know.
Yeah,
So,
neither do I.
I've heard rumors and rumbles about a boycott, about a lot of Blizzard boycotts.
Childnix has added me.
So.
2070 Super is a $500 GPU alone. So how much would the PS5 cost if it's actually on par with that GPU? So a couple things, and Brandon, I know you know more about this, but let me get my points in because I know you know more. My perspective, right? When you buy something in mass, you get it for a cheaper price, right? So Sony would get a better deal for a GPU of a similar level, if it's not the same thing, right? If they were to buy it in mass for their system. But two, right? It's then Sony they're gonna sell their system at a loss. They almost always sell their systems at a loss. So if you take those two things into consideration, that will enable them to make it it's not gonna be like that $500 price tag for that GPU isn't necessarily super telling of how expensive the PS5 is, I think. I mean, it definitely is expensive, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I expect the PS5 to be expensive, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be like a $750 system, right?
Right.
So because there are ways to cut down on costs.
I imagine 500 is the highest they'll go, and I would not be surprised if they try to target 400 to 450 because they've been selling really well at that price.
400, I think, is a good price tag.
Yeah.
For
I don't know if
a
they
system
can
like
do
that.
it, though, because they're doing a lot of stuff. But
what's crazy is that they wait a lot longer now to release their.
So.
I mean, well, the PS3 came out for $600.
Yeah.
When it first released, which was nuts because I feel like the standard for having such expensive systems wasn't like it's just $600.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's $200 more than most systems launch.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when Xbox first came out, like it was a $400 system, like in the early 2000s, and I thought that was ridiculous, right? But 600 just a whole other level, and they haven't done that since, right? We haven't seen that. Like even what's Xbox One X? What does that cost? 500. I think 500 is really what you hit now, and that still just seems like a lot of money to me. That just seems like so much money. Like 500 is rent, dude.
I believe the Xbox One was 500 when it came out because it came with the Kinect, and then they came out with a $400 version without the Kinect.
A lot of money.
The PS4 was 400 when it came out, and people were not happy about that. So.
Yeah.
The Xbox One X, its GPU when it came out, is the closest to this 1070, which when the Xbox One X launched, was a $500 GPU. So. They've done it before. Right,
that makes sense. So, I mean, there you go, right? Like, it might, if anything, all it implies is it'll be like a $500 system. Maybe.
Say that again?
If anything, it suggests that the system might just be about the same price as that GPU.
Oh, yeah. I imagine it's going to be... I would not be shocked if next-gen systems were 500. That's kind of what I'm expecting with the specs they're targeting.
It's hard for me to imagine more than that.
No, I definitely don't think it's more. I think there's a possibility they might come out with 400.
I'll say if they sell a system,
if
they sell a system at 500, I also don't see it selling really well.
Right.
Like not saying that it's going to do poorly, just that like I guess the expectation from them isn't going to be to sell like 10 million.
I think the big thing is that it's backwards compatible. I think that's what's really going to help. People aren't going to have to ditch their PS4 and Xbox One libraries. They're just going to move over to the next. Their games are just going to.
That might help. That might help transition.
Which I think is exactly what Nintendo will do with the Switch 2. I don't think there's going to be any of this. Oh, you can't play Breath of the Wild or Breath of the Wild 2 on your Switch 2.
I have a crazier idea.
New version.
I have a crazier idea. I think after a certain point, like there may be third-party games that aren't available for every Switch that's come out, but it may be possible that Nintendo games will just every Switch that comes out, like they'll just continue, like if they have a Switch Pro next year, like well they just call it like Switch Plus, right? And then there's a Switch Plus. Like my point is that like if they just continually upgrade, right? You know what I'm referring to though, right? Just the idea that
the kind of iPhone style.
Right, where if you, at least for Nintendo games, like regardless of what Switch you have, you will play that. But if you have a better Switch, the graphics will scale. Because the system, it already has scaling involved between portable and home console and docked mode. And even if they don't do it with the current Switch, the next one might be more like that.
I'm hoping they would start with the next generation Switch as a baseline, just because the Switch's specs are so outdated currently. I would hope that they would use the next gen as a baseline, because I feel like the current Switch would hold Nintendo games back.
Well,
you know?
They did do that quiet revision, right? And that might be kind of like, you know, like that system.
Right, but the specs are the same. It is a newer chip, so it's less than manufactured, but the specs are the same. Like, the specs of the actual Switch are so far behind.
I guess my thing is that by the time they come out with a newer one, will they be less far behind? Because more time passes, right?
Yeah, but they will. To be honest,
do you think mobile is it just because mobile technology is catching up? Is mobile technology actually catching up? Like, is the rate of growth for mobile technology getting close to just not mobile technology?
It's catching up enough to where the differences don't matter as much. Right now, the differences matter a lot more than they would with the next generation Switch.
Whatever happened to diminishing returns with graphics?
Nintendo is not in the diminishing returns yet. That's what I'm saying. Is like the next generation, you'd get into that diminishing returns territory. Right now, you're not there. We're not there. There's a huge gap. It's massive, huge. Like,
let me see here. I'm just checking
enormous.
the chat. Griffin going, knowing Nintendo, it would likely be named something like New Switch, Switch U, or Switch XL. Perhaps. Not Switch U. Definitely not Switch U. New Switch, maybe. Switch XL, maybe.
For the Pro, I could see that, but not for like.
I'm thinking Switch Plus.
Switch Plus sounds good.
I'm just because I think the Switch Pro, quote unquote, is going to be about having better graphical abilities.
I definitely don't think it would be called a Switch Pro because the PS4 Pro.
No, it might be called Switch Deluxe.
It could be called the Switch
Deluxe.
Nintendo really likes their deluxes lately.
Yeah. Child of Nexus, how powerful is the Tegra X2? Because that could be in the next Switch.
The Tegra X2 is essentially what's in the Switch Lite and the Switch revision, except it has a bit more CPU power and a bit more GPU power, whereas those are the same exact specs as the original. They're not going to use the Tegra X2.
Well, just to be clear, when you say next Switch, do you mean Switch Pro as a next Switch, or do you mean next generation Switch, which would be Switch 2?
Right.
Either way, the answer is no, because like you said, Brandon, X2 is basically what the Switches are at now, minus the launch version. But it doesn't have to be.
That's just what the Tegra X2 is. There's no way they're using the Tegra X2.
It's going to be better. It's going to be better than that.
Right. They might use technology based on that, like they have in the revision, but just because the Tegra X2 is focused on AI, they didn't need to upgrade the GPU, so they upgraded the CPU instead.
Okay.
So, but this is a gaming console. You need the GPU to be upgraded. The point is, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
Right.
Like, the technology is there for Nintendo to make a custom chip that is way more gaming powerful than anything that NVIDIA has made. Because they have the technology there, they're just not using it because they're using it for AI. Cool. So it doesn't use it. You know what I mean? Like, the technology is there, they're just not using it for that.
Right. So
it's irrelevant what NVIDIA's Tegras are currently because they're not gaming chips.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like what Nintendo's coming out now for the Switch SoCs or whatever, it's more custom, right?
Right, these are completely custom chips. They're based off of X2's architecture, but they're not X2's.
There's something more. Different, at least.
Right.
Okay.
They're actually less powerful than the X2, but they're more... Because they're staying on Switch spec, they're less powerful. Right.
But because, they're like intentionally limiting it because it has to match the regular one. Okay. But Switch Pro doesn't have to do that.
No.
It's going to be really interesting to see that. And like, it's going to be cool to see it. Here's my idea. This is kind of stealing some stuff we're going to have for the video Wednesday, but I'll just make sure to put more in that video. I'll make it interesting. But anyway, like, if Breath of the Wild 2 comes out next year and Mario Odyssey 2 comes out next year, these are ifs, not set in stone, and at E3 they tease Metroid Prime 4, You know, it'd be really cool if they have the Switch Pro come out next year. Like, even though the Switch is not going to compete graphically with the next generation systems, just to put out these games, because they're going to be beautiful games, and show them off at the best graphical set, right, with what a Switch Pro would offer, right? It's not going to be, it's not going to be more powerful. I'm going to stress that, right? It's not going to look more technically impressive. Artistically, it could compete, right? I mean, Wii games artistically competed with PS3 and 360 games because it was just about the art style, not the actual, you know, geometry and polygons and textures. Of course not. My point is, though, is that what they will be able to do is dominate, like, the mind space, like, have the attention of gamers, right? Like, if you show off Super Mario Odyssey 2, Breath of the Wild 2, and Metroid Prime 4 at E3 with the Switch Pro running it, right? That is going to have the attention of a lot of gamers, you know? Especially if you're still pushing Smash DLC, like, that's continuing the conversation, right? Like, and you already have Pokemon and Animal Crossing out with the Switch Lite selling like hotcakes, a lot of units being out there. I think Nintendo's just going to be in a really, really strong position because they're going to, if you think this year is good, I'm pretty sure next year is going to be better. And at least in terms of the heavy hitters, like, Nintendo's going to have the heavy hitters next year to compete in terms of, not so much compete in terms of power, but it compete in terms of attention, right? They do want to compete in terms of attention. They want gamers paying attention to the Switch, which is why Zelda, Mario makes sense, and at least teasing Prime 4 at E3 next year makes sense, right? Like, teasing it is a good marketing move, right? People have been talking about waiting for Metroid for a really long time. Just having it as like a big like tease at E3, I think will do a lot for the conversation, which is really important. You know, word of mouth, that leads to sales.
Yeah. And I think Nintendo will have something big. I mean, they do need to compete not only against the Xbox Scarlet and the PS5, but whatever games they have. We already know that Halo 5 or Halo Infinite, I think
it's a big
Halo
one.
6, is gonna be a huge launch title. I believe it's confirmed to be a launch title for the Xbox Scarlet. It will be on the Xbox One, the Xbox One X, but it's also going to launch, I believe. Unless I'm wrong,
it'd be
I know
weird
it's around the same
if they
time,
don't
so.
reveal Metroid Prime 4 next year, and the reason is, and we won't know, right? It'll be just speculation, but the reason is because they didn't want people to compare it to Halo.
I could see that, to be honest.
Right. That's why I brought it up, just because I could see it as a possibility.
And I'd assume Sony also has a big game. We haven't heard of it.
They've slowed down a little bit. Usually it's calm before the storm, right? Although
so Nintendo not only has to compete against new systems, but the big games that are going to be coming out to help launch those systems.
Right. We're ending the discussion like nowish, guys. By the way, so any final questions, put it in the chat. But what was I gonna say? Just that you know, with PS4, right, and Xbox One, they did not have that many exclusive games. They didn't. They really had none. Because they also were on their systems, but they didn't have as many big games to come out at the beginning of those systems to really push them, right? So I think that didn't help sales too much, and I think part of the reason was because they wanted to have the games come out on both systems, right? So, but by offering backwards compatibility, they can have big exclusive games that will push sales.
Right.
So it's gonna be interesting to see what kind of games they're gonna have for the launch of those two systems.
Yeah.
So Nintendo's gonna, I love it when Nintendo comes out swinging, man. Can you imagine, dude? Look, let's say I'm right, and that's not 50-50. I think I'm like 50-50 with these things, right? Zelda, Mario come out next year. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition comes out next year. Prime 4 is teased. Maybe Bayonetta 3 comes out next year, and we're starting the year with Animal Crossing. Heck, there are rumors that Sinnoh remakes are happening for Pokemon, right? That actually comes out next year as well. Dude, that's going to be a huge year for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Mind-blowingly huge. Maybe that's why it's not going to happen. Like, maybe one or two of those things don't happen, right? Well, but you gotta imagine Bayonetta 3 is not too far off.
Yeah, that game is.
Maybe the odd one out is Mario. Maybe Mario doesn't happen yet.
Yeah, that's the one I could see. That's the one I see the least likely, because I feel like Bayonetta 3's been in development so long. I feel like it should be done. relatively soon.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, I feel like should be. I mean, we talked about this.
There's all this still the Retro Studios game that we assume has been made. We don't know. Maybe they just didn't.
We could get a Prime trilogy. We could get something from them next year, even if we don't. Obviously, we're not getting Prime 4, but we could get a Prime trilogy next year, or maybe a 2D Metroid, or who knows.
There's a lot of options, but we'll save that for, I guess, a 2020 predictions discussion.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways.
Options here.
Yeah. I'm ending the discussion unless there's anything else you want to add, Brandon.
There is one quick thing in the comments that's I wanted to point out. Grieving Golem says, for Project Scarlet, the next Xbox, says it will be pretty much the same specs, just no load times. That seems to be their only big upgrade, no load times. Not true. The SSD is not the only thing they're upgrading. CPU is going to be a major new thing they're upgrading. And of course, the GPU is going to be much more powerful. They haven't said exactly how much more powerful, which is probably why you're confused. They haven't come up with any concrete specs on all of these things, which is probably why you're thinking this. It's not true. They're going to be upgrading every component just like they do every generation. They're even spouting things like 120 FPS on certain games at 4K and even 8K support. So that's not going to be possible without a GPU upgrade. I doubt there would be that many 8K games, but still. No, they're not just upgrading the SSD.
I just ordered my 8K television now. It's coming next week.
There you go. I don't even have a 4K in my room.
Neither do I.
So I have a 4K in the living room and a 4K in my parents' room.
Sooner or later, I'll get a 4K. Yeah.
I want to get a 144 hertz monitor, to be honest. Get a 1440p. You don't need 4K.
Sounds good.
Go with the frames.
Yeah. I mean, like, I mostly play on my games on Nintendo systems. Like, I have a PS4, I have a PC, but I don't barely play games on them. Minus Fortnite, right? Although I would like to finish God of War. Be cool.
I'll play that when the next generation comes out. I'm definitely getting a PS5. I don't know if I'll get a day one, but I'm definitely getting it.
I would, Bloodborne. Sequel to Bloodborne would definitely get me to get a PS5. God of War, I liked God of War, I borrowed it from someone. I didn't actually get to finish it myself because I didn't have it. So
I want to play that in Spider-Man because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. Massive Spider-Man fan.
Some cool stuff that's happening. Yeah, and no, in Shadow of Next, we just don't know what Retro Studios is up to. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But that's it for now. Brandon, if there's anything else you want to share about your channel, is your chance. What about Nintendo? The link to his channel is in the description below.
Yeah, so I got that more spooky Halloween themed video coming out tomorrow. It's gonna be about 3 Nintendo games that suddenly turned into horror games. That's somewhat gonna be the title. Might not be exactly that, but that's what's coming out tomorrow. I also plan on doing probably a multiplayer game stream on Wednesday, another video Thursday. Might be another Halloween themed video because I was meant to get this one out last week, so I want to get one out every week, so I might get that one out this week. And then Friday will be more Super Metroid Let's Play. Really been trying to play that, but every time I go to stream it, something comes up that I can't. So I'm really wanting to do that, but I haven't been able to. So hopefully this week, this Friday, is when I'll do that. So yeah.
Cool. Well, we're looking forward to it. As for me, well, check the merch. Link to it is in the description below, of course. Leaving a like, guys, I appreciate that. Also, let me know if there's any issues with the audio, right, in terms of it receiving my voice. I know there was the episode, in the middle of the episode with my dog barking, and then people trying to shush my dog in the hallway. I'm sorry. I know, it's weird. But anyway, hopefully things are still okay. As for what I'm planning for the channel this week, I don't want to put any hard, definitive plans, but I am at least thinking about making a video, hopefully for this Wednesday, talking about this next-gen situation with the Switch. So, stay tuned. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for listening. We'll see you soon. As soon as I find how to, stop the stream button. There it is.
There it is.
See you later.
Bye, guys.